Chairman. Good morning and welcome. I now call on my chaplain, Father Graham Bott, who will say prayers.
Thank you, Chairman. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen. O God, creator and ruler of all, we ask your blessing on members of this council who have been called to show care and responsibility in the community. We pray that they may have wisdom, patience, the ability to listen to one another and to the needs of others, that they may fulfill your will and purpose to bring about greater good in this county of Stafford. We ask this in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Almighty God, the giver of all good things, without you, whose help our work is ineffectual, and without your grace all wisdom is folly, grant that in all that we do in this place may be strengthened by your love and guided by the Holy Spirit. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. 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 I invite you, if you wish to join in the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. Thank you, Jen. All the best, Greg.
Please be seated. Okay, again, good morning and welcome. This will probably be my last time as chairman in this seat. And can I thank you for all your support throughout, and let's have a good meeting today. Item 1, apologies. Mr. Chief Executive, are there any apologies for absence?
Mr. Chairman, we have received apologies from the following members: Jill Burnett, Colin Greatorex, Kath Perry, Jeremy Pert, Janice Sylvester Hall, Mike Wilcox and Victoria Wilson.
Thank you. Are there any further apologies? Thank you. Declarations of interest. Does any member wish to declare an interest? Thank you. I move that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 9th of February 2023 be signed as a true record. Can I have the minutes, please? Yes, I will. Mike? Now to sign the minutes. Everybody agree that they're a true record? Is that agreed? Thank you. Chairman's correspondence. May I take this opportunity to welcome Alex Farrell to the Chamber and to congratulate him on his recent election as a County Councillor representing the Watling South Tamworth County Electoral Division. I'm sure that you'd all also like to welcome him to this chamber. Yes. Councillor Farrell.
Thank you. I just want to say Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your warm welcome. I'd like to thank the voters of Tamworth who put faith in me and the local Conservatives and, of course, the County Council. So, thank you.
Item 5, statement of the Leader of the Council. Councillor Ellen White, will you move consideration of a statement, please?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. I move consideration of the Leader's statement.
Thank you. Item 1, Staffordshire means back to business. Councillor Philip White.
Am I the only customer today for this one? Goodness me. Well, there's nothing happened anyway. Well, thank you very much, Chairman, and congratulations, Alex, on your election as well. It's great to see you here. I won't dwell too much on too many of the items in here because a lot of it is fairly familiar to us as a council, and there's a lot of good news in here in terms of our success in new investment in the county. But there are two things I will just highlight. The first is the excellent news that JCB's hydrogen-powered backhoe loaders are now licensed to be used on the UK's roads. This is another very important step towards decarbonising transport in this country, being led here in Staffordshire. Really important and very good for Staffordshire business. The other thing that I'll highlight is at the top of this agenda item, the publication of our economic strategy. As colleagues will know, the last iteration of our strategy, Staffordshire Means Back to Business, was published just at the beginning of the pandemic. It served the county extremely well in terms of creating the policy framework for the support that we provided to our businesses to make sure that Staffordshire weathered the storm quite effectively. But we knew when we left at that period that we did need to review it, and that decision proved timely with the impact of the invasion of Ukraine and the inflation spike afterwards. So we've been able to create here a really strong set of priorities that speak to the needs of Staffordshire, both now in the immediacy of the challenges that we face, but for the remainder of this decade, and focused on growth in our economy, growth in our skill levels, and also transformation, particularly through the opportunities that we have in our economic corridors, which refers back to the last item, in particular on the A50, A500, with the opportunity of hydrogen there. So I hope colleagues will take the time to read the strategy, and I think we're well equipped for what comes over the next 7 years as a result of it. Thank you.
Thank you. After calling the Deputy Leader, I had 2 people press the buttons. On this occasion, I will call them. But on future occasions, once I've counted the 5 in my head and called the Cabinet member, there will be no further people allowed to speak. So I will call these two members now, but nobody else will be allowed to speak unless the Leader wishes to speak at the end. So Councillor Hussain, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I also would like to welcome first the new councillors in here. Good to see you in this chamber. And welcome to our team. Mr. Chairman, can I just point out for the Deputy Leader's considerations as well, would he agree there is a big impediment, people going back to work or find a new business, is the universal credit itself. Every pound you earn, you will be losing about 55 pence of your universal credit. On top, they need to look after about the income tax and the insurance, and if they have any student loan, another 6% on top of this. So, and getting back to work, it has become a big challenge because of the system in the whole universal credit mentioned in the middle of his paragraph. And secondly, if I may recall yesterday's budget, and the Chancellor himself very rightly remembered the then Lord Chancellor Hazeltine's contribution because the Canary Wharf issues. Can we be assured the Deputy Leader and Leader himself will do whatever it takes to get that business centres to be established in our county, that Chancellor himself announced 8 centres like Canary Wharf would be established all over the country in 8 regions. So we want to get this one in our wonderful county as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Whittington, please.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. And you obviously count 5 fairly quickly because I had hardly a chance to put my finger on it before we stopped. But anyway, thank you. And on that note, could I just say what an excellent chairman you've been, and we will miss you. So, and it's, particularly when you give us an extra 5 seconds. Right, just very quickly. I read through this report, a good report, and it shows that the Conservatives, locally as well as nationally, are supporting business and growth, something that we can all be proud of. But the one part of this report I wanted just to make comment on was the permission of JCB, as the Cabinet member said, and the fact that they're now allowed to go on roads with hydrogen engines. I didn't know they had to have permission to do that, so I've learned something already this morning, but I'm really, really pleased. For me, I'm in farming obviously, the only alternative for draft engines, the only green alternative is hydrogen, and the work that JCB are doing is an exemplar, and we ought to be looking at it and saying, look, this is an international company, it's in Staffordshire, it's part of our green agenda, it's really important. But on that note, it's a question really for probably finance and highways. We've got £4.1 million coming in, or not us, but around potholes. Is it possible for us to have another trial of one of these hydrogen JCBs to look at the potholes? Some of the they're not, I accept they're not the perfect answer for everything, but there are places where the JCB machine works really well. And it would be so good for us to point and say, look, we're supporting JCB. So apologies for bringing it up. And the other thing, very quickly, it's not just about fixing potholes. When it's not fixing potholes, when we've finished all the potholes, that machine can be used elsewhere on other jobs. So thank you for listening to me. And
Thank you. The Leader of Council, please.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. And whilst I cannot resist talking about potholes, item 5 of the Leader's statement is that where the action really is, Councillor Winnington, so I suspect there'll be ample opportunities at that point. I've got to say I do welcome the £4.45 million for potholes from the government. Just a quick reminder though, we did have some of our money, our allocation taken away from us, and this is putting some back, not as much as it was taken away from us. The Highways Department is always keen on trialling new ideas. Councillor Williams himself has been leading on that alongside Councillor DeVille, trialling new ideas to make sure that our pothole effort is as efficient as it possibly can be. So I'm sure that if there is an opportunity, he would be taking that up. And as for support for JCB, you know that support for JCB is locked in from this authority. It's a huge employer. It delivers great value for this county, particularly around the areas of Uttoxeter and Roster. And I know there's quite a few fans of JCB in this chamber, particularly Councillor Philip Atkins, who I think has been the JCB fan club founder member in this chamber. To Councillor Hussein's comments about universal credit, we have to know our limits in this chamber. And our limits are that I don't determine, and we don't determine, universal credit or the tax system, much as I'm sure we'd love to, wouldn't we, ladies and gentlemen, but we can't. So I think we have to constrain our efforts to lobbying MPs and ministers on these issues, which we do routinely. I have a meeting with members of Parliament from Staffordshire once a month and try to get our points across about those areas that concern us all about people getting into work. And Councillor Philip White is continually lobbying MPs for new ways of creating jobs and new schemes that can support new investment into those businesses. The investment zones you referred to, which were announced yesterday, are an interesting concept. We already have 2 enterprise zones in this county, one at Chatterley Valley and the other at I-54, which are long established and hugely successful partnerships with other authorities. We would love to be part of an investment zone, but as it stands at the moment, it looks like the regulations require us to be part of a combined authority, which we aren't. But the government has indicated that its doors are always open to discussions with areas for the creation of investment zones. And I think we in this county would always be up for the creation of an investment zone. There's one that shouts out at you, and that's the A50, A500 corridor. I'll get the words out eventually. Sorry about that. And I think the government should be casting an eye over that and saying, you know what, North Staffordshire has exactly what it takes to create an investment zone for the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Diversity and inclusion progress update. Councillor, Mrs. Charlotte-Atkins, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I very much welcome the hard work being put into equality, diversity and inclusion, along with the officer group that's been set up. But, you know, we still have a gender gap of nearly 10%, and I suppose that's largely because of the gender imbalance across the range of jobs within the County Council. But what I wanted to ask about is what progress is being made towards offering meaningful employment experience to a more diverse, inclusive group of people, so that they can then be prepared to take up apprenticeships, so that they can then develop a work-based qualifications, which obviously are a real stepping stone to progressing up the career ladder. Thank you.
The Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I welcome the comments of the Leader of the Labour Group about the Diversity and Inclusion Progress Update. We also did a refresh of our people strategy yesterday at Cabinet, which is extremely welcome. When I meet with the people who are joining Staffordshire County Council, many of them young women who are joining, particularly to go into children's services, one of the things they say is an attractive factor for working at Staffordshire County Council is how good our people strategy is and how good we are at looking after our people. So I'm really glad that that is recognised and people are coming to choosing to work at Staffordshire County Council as a result of that. To your point about opening the door to people from different backgrounds, yeah, we've always had an open door policy at Staffordshire County Council. We will always welcome people from different backgrounds, all sorts of ranges of backgrounds. And I think one of the things that we do need to tackle is the routes into communicating with different groups. So, for example, during the COVID crisis, working with Councillor Hussain in Burton-upon-Trent, it was clear that working through community leaders is a way of enabling people to get access to roles and information from Staffordshire County Council in a way that perhaps we wouldn't have done traditionally. So we will continue to look at that and we will welcome people from all backgrounds going forward.
Thank you. Item 3, empowering our communities. Councillor Paul Norvicote, please.
Good morning and thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome to our newest member of the Chamber, Alex, here in front of me. Mr. Chairman, one of our key indicators that we've discovered from the pandemic is the strength and power of our communities. Empowering our communities is something that we need to take account of and is very important, the power that they can have. Our communities and residents are the very heart of what we set out to do in Staffordshire, and to recognise that work and build upon it is one of the things that the Council and the Cabinet are committed to. And I'm sure that the portfolio holder for communities, as she was here today, would echo that. In terms of that, Mr. Chairman, I've been working closely with Councillor Wilson and to build on the Communities Delivery Plan for 2023, we've done some initial work with partners and communities. And one of the things that we found from learning from COVID and the pandemic was that engagement from communities from within is the powerful force rather than the County Council dictating what happens. So to effect that, we're putting in place certain things, for example, for the parish councils, the newly established SPCA, the Parish Councils Association, to deliver to parish councils, which are in the very heart of communities, from the ground up, they have a good eye and ear for the issues that face them, and to allow them to have a set of tools and access to things that they may be interested in pursuing further in the community, rather than dictating to what they should be doing, giving them the equipment to deliver what they wish to do and empowering them to make that effective change within their communities. So I very much welcome this and the direction of the Council, and touching upon what the leader said, the references to Councillor Hussain, that our communities are very valuable and we wish to work with them to build them stronger and to help our communities grow further. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Saeed Hussain, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I appreciate the kind words from the leader and Councillor Norton as well. Mr. Chairman, can I just point out the valuable contributions come up from our local community centres to give their service, especially run by the volunteers and others. In reality, in my own divisions and our nearby divisions as well in the whole town, there are some community centres. We find that they're struggling to keep their doors open because of the pressures and crisis what is coming in, especially after 2 years of pandemic and things. And I would welcome any support or advice how they can, continue their good job in the future as well. From the county, they need some support as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Mike Sutherland, please.
Good morning, Chair, and if I may, congratulations to you in your tenure for the last 4 years. It's soon gone, hasn't it? And secondly, alongside my colleague now, Alex, a big welcome and well done to him. But thank you, Chairman. I do thank the Cabinet Member, Councillor Wilson, for bringing this paper today, and I thank her for outlining the progress made and the intentions going forward with the community's delivery plan. As members, we've been able to support our local communities with the Staffordshire County Council Community Fund. It allows us as members so that we can collectively work together and pool our resources for a larger community project, such as the community shop in Carrick, where we were able to get that up and going quickly by working and supporting it as Carrick members. If we hadn't, it would have taken a lot longer to get off the ground. Equally, we can help individually and support our communities on smaller projects that matter locally and make a real difference. So I would like to congratulate the Cabinet Member, and I'm sure we all look forward to an early start to this year's programme. Much needed and much appreciated. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Charlotte Atkins, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I very much welcome the attention to parish and town councils because I think they can make a huge contribution. So what I'd like to know is a bit more about how the County Council intends to build capacity at parish and town council level and how to give them the tools to do the work they do, but even more so. For instance, in the document, it talks about a toolkit and member materials being produced by February this year. And then, so are these materials now available? What connections have been made with parish and town councils? I'm very much aware that parish councils can be very small or relatively large, as in case of Biddulph Town Council that do a tremendous amount of work. So how is the county going to help build the capacity across that range of parish and town councils? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Sutton, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The eagle-eyed amongst you will recognise that I'm not Victoria Wilson, but I'm answering today on her behalf. I think the only similarity is we both wear spectacles. Can I first of all welcome the positive comments from colleagues, and Mr. Atkins, I'll come to your point towards the end of what I've got to say. Empowering our communities. Communities are what makes Staffordshire a strong and thriving county and what makes it a great place to live. On a daily basis, people are stretching out a helping hand to help others, empowering them to help themselves and others to be a core part of our strategic plan. Going forward, more can be done, and the Cabinet report presented by my colleague, Councillor Victoria Wilson, detailed that position statement and explained a little bit about what has already been done and then detailed what is going to be done. So far over the past 18 months, we've worked with partners and our VCSE sector to review and agree our new early help strategy, something that's in my portfolio, and supported families right across the board with the right help, the right place at the right time. We've supported 1,238 families facing multiple challenges to improve their lives through the Supporting Families programme, which has gained earned autonomy and is held by government in high esteem. And we are at this moment in time going to be going around other authorities explaining what we have been doing and sharing that good practice. We've supported just under 110,000 people to find help through supportive communities, and our community-based public health programme helps residents be healthier and more independent for longer. We've administered £12 million through the Household Support Fund, something else that's in my portfolio, and we will continue to do that as we go forward, as the government has granted us further funds to be able to do that. We've established library uniform hubs that gift school uniform. We've distributed over £200,000 worth of grants to support VCSE groups to recover post-COVID-19. School and community groups and parish councils have secured £76,000 from the Climate Change Action Fund. And again, going forward, the next round will be distributed. And we've awarded 156 community groups £114,000 worth of small grants through our member-led community fund, which my colleague Mike Sutherland spoke about earlier. And we've committed £1.5 million investment over the next 3 years to continuing support to the local VCSE sector by commissioning the new capacity building framework contract. And of course, we launched the Here to Help campaign in early October to make sure people are aware of the support and advice available to them. So going forward in 2023, we will start to embed community-led prevention and early help by developing the family hubs and developing supportive communities public health programme. And as I mentioned previously, round 3 of the Climate Change Action Fund. We'll be promoting community action and building community capacity, including delivering next year's Members Fund. And of course, we will continue to administer the holiday activities and food programme for children who are entitled to free school meals during the holiday periods of Easter, which is fast approaching, the summer, and then going on to the Christmas holidays. And as I said in Cabinet on the day regarding this report, what is there not to like about this? Coming back to the question that was asked from across the floor, I will ensure that Victoria Wilson gets a detailed answer to you. But I can give an example of what is happening in South Staffordshire, and that is being led by the likes of us, councillors, borough councillors and district councillors, working with parishes, coming together and deciding what the priorities are in individual areas, and then being supported to try and do that and working together across parishes. So I think personally a lot of this is it being built up from the bottom as opposed to being top down. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Sutton. Leader of Council, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be brief. I can't miss this opportunity to thank our parish councillors and voluntary groups across the county for the hard work that they do. I only managed a year as a parish councillor. A man has to know his limits. It's hard work being a parish councillor. It's mostly thankless graft, making sure that your local area looks great and you're doing right by the people that you represent. But saying the phrase by the people you represent is actually quite loose, really, because many parish councillors across this county are co-opted. They've never stood for election. They've just simply put themselves forward to help out with their local communities, and the same with the voluntary groups in non-parished areas. So I want to take this opportunity on behalf of Staffordshire County Council to thank all those parish councillors across the county, many of whom are coming to the end of their term shortly, for all the hard work they've done in the previous 4 years. It is thankless. They don't get any money for it. Sometimes they get a really hard time for trying to do the right thing as well. And without them, I think our lives here as county councillors, and indeed for those of us that are district and borough councillors, would be significantly more difficult. So thank you to the parish councillors and the voluntary groups across the county.
Thank you. Item 4, Integrated Performance Report, Quarter 3, 2022-23. Councillor Ian Parry, please.
Apologies to my own group who've already heard all of this a few days ago. But important to report, and the summary, if you like, of the report in this morning's agenda is obviously backed up by the papers itself, which went through Cabinet 2 weeks ago, and also has been through scrutiny. And I do encourage members to take a more detailed look at our integrated performance and financial report. This is about the plan itself, the corporate plan, which the Cabinet is charged to deliver with the support and advice and guidance of officers. And it's pleasing to note that across the piece, the plan is progressing, and most of it, if you like, in terms of RAG rating, is green. There are some amber and indeed some red areas that we're well aware of and that you as members are well aware of, which involve our Children's Transformation Programme, which additional investment has now been made, and I think we have a very targeted plan through my colleague Mark Sutton to actually now, I think, get to a point where I think we can arrest that rise in costs and start to turn it around. That's something which is a high priority for us as a Cabinet. And so apart from that, there are some other knotty problems, but I think we've got on top of them, and therefore our MTFS is balanced and our corporate plan is on plan. We expect this year, because it's been an exceptionally challenging year, to post a net £11 million overspend. Sounds like a lot, but in overall terms, around 1.5%. And of that, £5 million has been supported to cover the employee pay rise, which was much higher than we'd anticipated or anybody had anticipated this year. So all in all, a satisfactory situation this year given the challenges, and a very satisfactory outlook in terms of a balanced medium-term plan and a hopefully fully deliverable corporate plan.
Thank you. Item 6, Highways Investment. Oh, so, sorry, my apologies. Item 5, Conflict in Ukraine. Councillor Mrs Atkins, please.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I'm absolutely delighted that Alina and Katerina have found jobs at the County Council. I've been working with the lead group of Ukrainian refugees, and of course many of those have been unable to find jobs, partly I think because of the language barrier, which I think demonstrates how important language classes are, particularly face-to-face ones. But I'm delighted that Ukrainian refugees can work. And I think that given the real problem we have with economic inactivity, the cost of living crisis, that actually those people who come to our shores and have been here for a year, perhaps waiting for asylum decisions, should also have the opportunity to work, because then they could give something back to our community rather than being a drain on the exchequer. And, you know, France does it, Canada does it, the USA does it. They allow asylum seekers after a particular period of time to work. And it also means that they're more likely to be integrated into the communities, and that hopefully we wouldn't have some of these really aggressive, antagonistic demonstrations outside places like hotels and so on. So I really do hope that the experience of our Ukrainian refugees leads us to think about the contribution that others can make, rather than being sort of languishing in hotels you know, for months on end. I really do hope that we can look at the contribution they can make to the economy, because many of them will have tremendous skills that we need. And we saw with the Chancellor yesterday how desperate he was to get people back into the workforce. So I really do hope that we could use their talents in a constructive way. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Alex Farrell, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With your indulgence, I'd quite like to talk about my hometown of Tamworth and how that's helped in the Ukraine effort. I'm a local councillor in Tamworth, and I received an email around a year ago today from a local resident who had family in Ukraine. I remember exactly where I was when I received it, and I knew something needed to be done, but I wasn't the only one. There was lots of people in the community of Tamworth and the whole of Staffordshire that came together to do their bit. The first thing I did was contact Community Together CIC. They coordinated the campaign in Tamworth and worked with other local community groups who acted as collection points across not just Tamworth but across the whole county. Tamworth isn't a big town, you might not know it, but it's 4 miles by 6 miles, but it has a big heart, Mr. Chairman. It was a full-on month, working day and night in Tamworth, and it became the epicentre for Staffordshire getting donations and ensuring things went where they needed to go. I've done a few numbers, and with your indulgence, I'll give a few of them now. In 1 month, Tamworth collected 96,404 items. Now, the estimated value of those items was around £127,500. We collected 3,700 boxes, sorted them, packed them, and shipped them to the Polish borders and into Ukraine. 262 community volunteers have come forward to help in that month, which we reckon is around about £58,000 in volunteer social value. There was main sponsors, there was around 53 local businesses who helped out. I couldn't possibly list them all now, and humanitarian groups. And the job isn't done, of course. We can't forget the people that need our help. And we can't forget the Homes for Ukraine scheme, which this county council has helped coordinate, and many people in Tamworth have taken on Ukrainians. So I'm very, very proud of what we've done, what the county has done, and I'm very, very happy to welcome these two people as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for an excellent update. Councillor Richard Cox, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Lichfield District Council certainly equal to what Alex has said, and welcome, Alex. You're going to be fine in this chamber. What's important as well is not necessarily what we've done, but it's what we've done that has been appreciated by the Ukrainian visitors. And only recently, this week, there's a nice floral display as you go into Lichfield on the left-hand side opposite the old library, where the City Council have worked with the Ukrainians to create a floral tribute. And it's a tribute to the thanks to the Lichfield community for accepting them in their crisis, and they are appreciative. So I think it is also recognising the work that we've put together as a county council and then through the boroughs and districts. But it is wonderful to see their appreciation because it's heartfelt, it's meant, and that's a lovely tribute that we've just only experienced this week that I thought I'd bring to the attention of this chamber. So it is it's a nice story. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Graham Hutton, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Can I say there's a distinction between displaced people coming from Ukraine who actually want to go back to the Ukraine and people who are coming to our shores and claiming refugee status. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Mark Sutton on behalf of Councillor Victoria Wilson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to thank members for their supportive comments about what is being done by communities to support the Ukrainians across Staffordshire. And I echo what has been said. And can I take this opportunity, because I didn't last time, to welcome our new colleague to the chamber. I want to start with a quote from my colleague Victoria Wilson. Our communities are brilliant, and we want to give them a heartfelt thanks for selflessly offering accommodation to our Ukrainian friends. It is clear the war will not end at any time soon, so as we enter year 2 of the Homes for Ukrainian scheme, I want to thank each and every one of them for their continued generosity, and I suspect that everyone across this chamber would echo those thoughts completely. Just to give a few facts and figures, nearly 500 Staffordshire residents have generously given accommodation to residents of Ukraine who have fled their country after the Russian invasion. Around 600 Ukrainians remain in the scheme, with 300 others either moving back to Ukraine or securing alternative accommodation. Councillor Atkins mentioned the two young people, or the 2 people in the report that have got work, and that is absolutely fantastic. You know, over the past year, the County Council has dedicated a resettlement team in place to deal with the Homes for Ukraine scheme. And as we continue, we will obviously continue to do what we can and support that going forward. The question that was raised from across the floor is obviously a matter for central government, and I think there's arguments for and against that going forward. But again, not a matter for this county council, but a matter for central government. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Leader of the council, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I first address my comments to the Leader of the Labour Group, Councillor Atkins, about the asylum-seeking process. Myself and the Chief Executive were able to speak with the Home Secretary one-to-one for about 45 minutes a few weeks ago about the issue of asylum seekers and the impact they're having on the communities in Staffordshire. It is reasonable to say that the Home Secretary really understands the issue in detail, and she understands precisely what is going on in local areas, and we were able to impart to her the impact of asylum seekers using hotels in our county. And I was extremely grateful, as was the Chief Executive, to have that opportunity to brief her. I think the secret not the secret to success, one of the routes to success with dealing with asylum seekers coming into this country is the speed of the application process. There are currently about 160,000 people waiting for their asylum applications to be processed, and if that rate at which they can be processed is increased, I think that would be beneficial to everybody, those seeking asylum and those people in communities who are impacted by asylum seekers living in hotels close by. I've only ever managed to do a week in a Holiday Inn, and I had something to do during the day. It's a tough gig in a Holiday Inn, and if you're in there for a very, very long time, it's even tougher. So I think for the sake of the right thing to do is speed up those processes. I just want to turn now to the conflict in Ukraine. One of the things that people often get mistaken by is thinking that conflicts are resolved swiftly. Putin thought that the conflicts in Ukraine would be resolved in about 36 to 48 hours. Straight into Kyiv, jobs are good and all over. Conflicts are never swift. Modern conflict, particularly, is never swift. Even if you achieve peace, generally it's a fragile peace which can go either way in a very short period of time. The enduring nature of conflict feeds through into the requirement on our part to have an enduring commitment to the Ukrainians who are finding refuge in our shores. We will have to look after them for a longer time than we perhaps anticipated. And it's important that the government recognises that. And I want to thank our communities for stepping up and continuing their commitment in ways perhaps they didn't anticipate they would have to when the conflict got started. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Item 6, Highways Investment. Councillor Nigel Yates, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and I'd like to start by welcoming our newest member. You can have my cap, so that's very good. And I'd also like to add that you've only been chairman for one of my meetings. I hope it's not something I said. So, yes. I did take the liberty of reading the Cabinet meetings from yesterday where the highways investment was put forward for approval. I'm very pleased to hear that it was approved. I'm very pleased to hear that that includes the well and truly warranted resurfacing improvements to the Meadows Way, which runs through Biddulph in the Staffordshire Moorlands. What I want to make is one appeal when it comes to the wider list, because we're coming from a very low base, which I think everybody will agree with when it comes to highways repairs and pothole repairs. I mean, I think every single member could probably stand up and make a justified case for having a special machine to come and repair their specific potholes, which are worse than any division. And certainly, you know, in a hierarchy, I'm sure Biddulph and the Staffordshire Moorlands being very high and very rural and affected by unseasonal weather at any time of the year as a very strong case for that. But one thing I want to put a sort of appeal to is it's too late for this particular year, but picking up on the comments from the leader about the importance of the communication and connectivity with town and parish councils, is that when it comes to creating the lists for treatments, whether preventative or repair, and it's a forward list, not an emergency list, then we have consultation with towns and parish councils, because there's too many to do. So let's prioritise things together. So we have an open and grown-up conversation to make sure that the few which we do become the critical few and not always the convenient few. So that's an appeal going forward, so we can have the lists as a proposal in advance with plenty of time to make amendments before they go for approval, and make sure that we've got the local knowledge and local input. Thank you.
Seat 5, Councillor Phil Hudson. Next time, can you press the other side of the button, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The statement, good, well-maintained roads are important to this council, the residents, to businesses and to the growing local economy. Absolutely spot on. Everyone in this chamber is very passionate about their roads and maintaining our potholes. More so myself, as Mr. Williams knows, and the leader, I'm very constantly writing to him about the state of the roads in Uttoxeter. And it's quite hurtful when you see on social media that I don't care, I've no interest, and I've no pride in my town. I have absolutely loads and loads of passion and pride in my town of Uttoxeter, and I do my utmost to maintain our roads. However, it's down to the residents to use the My Stats app to report it to us so we know about it, so we can get it inspected, then I can follow it up. And David will tell you, I write to him quite a lot about getting some of the main ones done. Some of the roads that need repairing is not a simple job. It means closing the road down for a time, so we have to allocate that time to do it. So I very much welcome this £30 million extra spending over 2 years. I also welcome the £4 million extra that the government have given us to fix the potholes. And I welcome the capital expenditure projects that I've put forward to the Cabinet for Uttoxeter. That is fixing back lane with the ANPR camera and the bus lane there to protect our school residents. The marketplace to look at the parking there, the electric charging points, and also some extra parking restrictions in parts of the town, and I welcome that. Can I also ask that my main roundabouts in Uttoxeter really need resurfacing, because we have a lot of heavy traffic coming through that town, and a lot of our problems are caused by our HGVs actually going around the roundabouts and churning up the tarmac. And I know that the Deputy Leader, Councillor White, is helping me try and get that done. Or I would, so that's much needed. What we need to look at is future working practices, and I know that Councillor Williams has briefed us in scrutiny about the way forward from April, that if we've got priority 1, 2 and 3 holes in the same location, then really we should deal with all 3 at the same time. That local members will be given more input into when things are done so we can prioritise the work. I very much welcome that. And working practices, we've got to maintain and monitor this from April to make sure that Amy do the job that we want, not what they think we want, because it's very important to our residents that our roads are done well. And while I'm supporting my colleague, Councillor Atkins, as his borough councillor, while they're fixing his holes, they're not fixing mine. But I do support you, Councillor Atkins, and I know that we try in Uttoxeter and rural to maintain our roads as much as we can. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I can assure the residents of Uttoxeter that I do care. I'm very passionate about my roads, and we'll get it sorted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Ashad Asfar, please.
Yep, thank you, Chairman. Just like to start by welcoming Alex to the Chamber and thank you for your services as Chairman while I've been in the County Council. Just like to start by thanking the County Council Cabinet and Highways officers for the approval for the extra funding for highways, which has seen a road in my town and division, Derby Road, which is a main gateway in and out of the town, being completely resurfaced along with some other roads receiving surface treatments within the town. I won't go on about other things the other colleagues have gone over them, but no doubt with the extra pothole funding announced by central government in the budget and our already approved County Council pothole fund, if I could ask the Cabinet member to look at prioritising some pothole repairs in areas in my division, especially the back streets that have been long on the waiting list, to avoid the roads deteriorating further. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Conor Wildman, please.
Thank you very much, Chair, for the opportunity to speak. I think we're all highways engineers in here, aren't we? That's what it feels like to me. And rightly so, because it is an area where I would say 90% of the communications that I receive from residents are about highways. So this is extremely welcome news, and thank you very much to the Cabinet member and to the Council for delivering on this. I just wanted to talk more about the schemes that are going on in Burton-upon-Trent. A number of times residents come to me and say, look, where is the investment in Burton? Why isn't it being done? Why is it in Derbyshire? There's investment here, there and everywhere. So this is £30 million of additional investment, with over £3 million of that being allocated to Burton and roughly in the town centre. In my division, there's £200,000 allocated to the A511 Beaufort Road Junction. In Councillor Arshad's division, there's £2.5 million of structural maintenance going into Derby Road, and there's £500,000 of structural maintenance funds going into Claymills Junction, which is with the A38. So all three projects together are, I would say, a game changer for the general road maintenance in Burton-upon-Trent. Over the next couple of years, there is likely to be some disruption. I think that's inevitable. But I'm sure that the County Council will work closely with each local councillor to make sure those works are scheduled in so they cause limited disruption to residents. So this is really encouraging news, and thank you very much to the Cabinet member for getting this stuff together. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor John Francis, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Welcome, Alex. Nice to see you. I think you'll fit in very well, the way you've performed this morning. It was very good, actually. Highways, I welcome this money, the £30 million, plus the £4 million. I think the Cabinet member's done very well, and I'm very pleased the way he's enacted this. The pebble in the pond, as far as I'm concerned, at the minute, is HS2. HS2, we're going to fund particular junctions in my division, and it goes for all the other divisions as well. Janet's, we've all had serious issues with HS2. As far as the highways go, there's a particular project in my division that's been going on for 7 years, and it's a place called Middle Lane, where there's a farm shop on one side, the village is on the other side of the main West Coast Railway line with a bridge, and it's a small arch bridge with no footpath. Lots of the villagers walk to that farm shop, and it's been an increasing footfall over the years because the farm shop's got bigger and bigger and bigger. We're in the process at the minute of putting a project in with David to put a footpath in there and control pedestrian crossing. HS2 was going to fund some of this. I don't know what will happen to that funding. I don't know whether it'll be withdrawn, but we've got to carry on with that project. But not only that, there's junctions, particularly one on the A51 and another one called Who Mill, which is a mini crossroads, which when that junction closes, it will cut Ingestree off, which is one of the villages in my division. The parish council are not happy about it. We've got a meeting at the end of the month with them. If HS2 is delayed any more than 2 years, I think it'll be abandoned. And as Martin Titley and I have said in this council chamber over the years, that if that's abandoned, we'll have concrete structures all over the place and it'll be on the tally in abandoned engineering. It's a mess. The whole project's a complete mess. It's, that, in my view, as an engineer, I think it's a fantastic project, but not as far as the public go. So I would like to know from the Cabinet member, how are we going to proceed with this? How are we going to get the funding that HS2 promised? What HS2 are going to do about it? And let's get some answers off the government, because it's so airy-fairy at the minute. It's beyond a joke. It's beyond belief, to be quite frank. And HS2 are a law unto themselves. They do what they want when they want, don't they, Janet? So, you know, it's up to us and the leaders of this council to get to grips with this and to make sure we get the funding that we need. If not, we want compensation off them. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Keith Lunder, please.
Thank you, Chair. Welcome, Alex. Nice to see a great result over in Tamworth. I'd just like to also say I'll be missing you, Chair, over the coming months and years, and all your fantastic charity events I've attended, so thank you very much for doing all the work over the last 2 years. I've got some good news, really, and a piece of work that I did talk to the Chair before the meeting about. He's received an email from the Endon Parish Council in relation to the school that came to the last full council meeting, if you'll remember, and they thanked him for rearranging the meeting, and thank God he did, because I think you can recall back, the meeting went on till about 3:30 in the afternoon. And so can I just thank you for that? And they again reiterated their thanks at the Parish Council meeting on Tuesday. So thank you very much for doing that. Right, some further good news. In relation to the petition that was given in on that day, can I please thank the officers and for David and the highways officers and design teams, etc., Amy, who have actually arranged a meeting next week to go and have a look at that very process. And so can I just say thank you again for that. We've had some action and it seems to have all worked very well. So thank you very much. Good news.
Thank you. Councillor Saeed Hussain, please.
Thank you, Chair. Highways investment. Mr. Chairman, we made a significant difference. All councillors in our divisions, like all 62 of, especially with that small budget of DHP money, about 7,500. Can I just ask, through you, Chairman, to the Highways Cabinet member for the Highways, is it not the time to think about to increase our DHP amount, especially given the 10.4% of the inflations? And I'm so blessed to have the advice from our highways officers and everything. We can do a significant difference in our communities if we can get a little bit of support on this. Thank you, Chairman.
I have the Cabinet Member for Finance and the Highways waiting to speak later, so they may respond to your question. Can I now call Councillor Philip Atkins, please?
Oh. Thank you, Chairman. I got elected in a by-election, and back in 1987, it was taken that you just knew what you were talking about when you got elected. And so, unfortunately, Martin and Alex have missed the large induction that we had, so they wouldn't understand, or they may not understand, the categorisation of potholes from 1 to 4. So the work is fairly done across the county, because there are some really dangerous emergency jobs and some are superficial. And I know that we all get probably 70% of our emails are about potholes. And I was quite surprised back in 1987 to be told, well, write a letter to the Director of Highways, and I got a reply. Everybody else used to get a postcard saying, after 21 days, saying we're having a look at it. So we have moved forward a hell of a lot with my staff's app and everything else on updates on where we are with the potholes, etc. But it leads me on to, Mark Winnington mentioned earlier on, Mr. Chairman, about the Pothole Pro JCB machine, which has been developed with our officers at County Highways about how we can mend potholes. And I hope that we can get one of those machines in the county where it's manufactured, because it is a versatile machine one of about 300 and something types of machines that they make. And it seems a shame that other counties have leapt on that bandwagon and are using it rather than us, because it can save money. But can you just imagine, though, how that company is having all sorts of emails about the roundabout outside their 3 factories on the A50, which employ all the 400 that moved from the cab factory, bar 4, still work at the JCB cab factory. It's now got 700 employees. It's got the World Parts Centre, and Heavy Products use this roundabout. And unfortunately, it's called the A522 Utoxeter Road, Utoxeter. It isn't. It's in Beamhurst, which is in my patch, as Mr Hudson knows. And I'm pleased to see that £300,000 is going towards the repair of that, probably at Whitson this year, because you've got 3 very busy factories that use that factory, so the closure of the road for a complete repair will cause quite a lot of financial and mayhem as well as traffic mayhem. And just to bring back to what I was saying at the beginning, the reason we've got category 1 to 4 is where parish councils are consulted a lot on where we ought to be allocating that money. There are some very expensive projects that need doing, such as in Burton Tower and Utoxeter Rural, and there's 1 or 2 others, and there has to be a fair and open way of judging that those projects deemed to have those large sums of money spent on them. Parish councils have got one thing that we can't do as a local authority, and that's raise parish rates above what our percentage increase is. And I'm pleased to see that many of my parishes have used their money on junction improvements, such as Utoxeter Rural Parish Council and Kingston Parish Council. They've managed to raise probably with themselves about £50,000. They've put about £30,000 to £40,000 of that in. A lot of them have put speed indication devices in, paid for gateway effects. So when you're talking to the parish councils, don't just let them think about what they moan at us for not doing. Think about what they can do to improve the life of their constituents, who are also our constituents. And that's what I've always done with my parishes, and I've got about 14 of them. So some of you are lucky and you've only got 1.
Thank you. Councillor Bernard Peters, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and welcome to our new colleague from Tamworth. It's great to see him in the chamber today. And Mr. Chair, many thanks for your efforts during the period that you've been in that chair. It's been a great pleasure to serve under you. I would like to echo Mr. Wildman's comments about what's going on in Burton. The new money is welcome. It's very, very important. And the funding of highway improvements in Burton is something that we've been lobbying for a long while. And as a district councillor, a borough councillor in Burton, I've been particularly pushing Connor for work in my area where I represent as a ward councillor. So it's good news, good news. But more importantly, the Clay Mills junction off the A38 is not only a gateway to Burton, it's a gateway to my division. And we talk about the amount of emails that we all receive, constant drumbeat message of what the heck is happening at Clay Mills. We need it improving. And lo and behold, it's going to happen now. So I really, really support this and thank the Cabinet member for securing this money for us. And I know that it's particularly welcomed by the residents in my division. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Mark DeVille, please.
Chairman, thank you. Really good debate, Chairman, and quite clearly this is a subject that's close to each and every one of us. And a previous speaker was dead right. It fills up all of our inboxes, doesn't it? I think and I'm really pleased that the additional investment that we put into highways in the coming year and the year after is welcomed right across this chamber. And I assure members that that money, it's not a matter of how much money's in there, it's spending it well and spending it properly. And I assure every member that the money will be spent well and will be spent in the right places. And it'll be spent in conjunction with every member of this chamber, because it's all of our responsibilities, Chairman, isn't it? Just 2 points Mr. Atkins raised. I can confirm, Councillor Atkins, that the much needed work at JCB Roundabout, it's dreadful, the roundabouts in Uttoxeter, as we all know, that will be completed in Whitsun in conjunction and working with the company. And the other point that Mr Atkins made was around the JCB Pothole Pro machine, Chairman. It is a good machine. We've worked with JCB on some trials with the Pothole Pro machine, and we see some real benefits with that. And I can assure Mr Atkins and members that we are looking at taking one of these machines on board. And I'm sure that machine, of course, with it being a famous and well-respected Staffordshire company, of course we should work with JCB, and we do and will continue to do so. And I'm sure that that machine will be put into good and efficient use, Chairman, in the county.
Thank you. Councillor Graham Hutton, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to pass through the Cabinet member responsible my thanks to highways teams in my division. They do a great job. They're very responsive. The only thing I would ask is that besides maintaining our highways, could they also look at tree maintenance? Because I have a lot of problems in my division with residents writing to me complaining about trees that haven't been pruned back for quite some years. So, but other than that, I think the highways team are doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ian Parry, please.
When we hit this item on the agenda, it was interesting that the whole chamber mic lights made the place look like the Vegas Strip in about 10 seconds. Obviously, this is of interest to every member. And I join with everyone else that I too go from hero to zero on a daily basis on the things I can fix and the things I can't fix, the things that take a bit longer. It's a challenge for everyone. It's a challenge for all of us. Philip Atkins can remember, because I can remember, and he's older than me, but I'm better looking. It's true, isn't it? We can remember previously, year after year, the highways budget was robbed to shore up other parts, inefficient parts of the council, where there was a lack of bravery to do anything about it. And this council has been paying that price since. Since we were in control of this council and its finances, we have consistently increased spending on our roads and our highways, consistently put large single amounts of capital into our highways to try and get on top of those problems. It's an insurmountable problem, to be honest, folks. Because what have we learned in that period? What do we know about highway maintenance in this county over the period that we've been in control? That it's a very complex operational matter, and that it's not just a question of throwing money at it. What we now know, we've always known probably, that actually too much is not a good thing. Too much encourages waste because there's only so much capacity that we can actually invest in. And you can't switch capacity in this kind of operational matter like turning on a tap. It has to be planned and prepared, otherwise all you're doing is encouraging inefficiency and waste. So on top of the capital programme, on top of the investments that we've made, we've also put additional revenue money into transitioning some parts of the structure to get a better grip of the management and operational detail that means we can be more efficient. All of the concerns I'm hearing this morning are about that aspect. Responsiveness, quality, common bloody sense, all of those things. And that requires good quality management and oversight, and political oversight, which is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. The other thing to bear in mind, because this is a damn well good news story, folks, and we've heard some good news this morning, but overall, the strategy here, the investment here is an absolutely brilliant news story. where very few councils can afford to do what we are doing in the way that we're doing it. Because we want to do it, we made it a manifesto commitment, and we will damn well deliver on it. And my much loved and highly respected Cabinet colleague David Williams, bit of a bromance going on now, presented to Cabinet only yesterday, and I commend this report to you to go and have a look at it, because what sits behind it is a number of appendices which gives you a lot of detail into some of those important capital programmes that will be in everybody's division that will make a difference. And it's not just making a difference to potholes, as important as that is, but the overall infrastructure of our highway network, all 6,000 kilometres of it, or whatever it is, and bring in the much-needed investment through providing the infrastructure and the highway network of a quality that we need. So this is a strategic approach, as well as a change in our operational approach. And there have been some significant changes done through my colleague, David Williams, who I love dearly, because he's going to fix a few things for me too. These will get resolved and are already on that journey. And I'm convinced that we've actually got a grip of this. But the investment's there, folks. The investment's there. The transition is there. We've just got to be a bit patient and recognise this is massively complicated and we can't fix every problem every time. So I'm happy to be a hero on Mondays and a villain on Tuesdays and maybe a saint on Thursdays, and everybody hates me on Fridays, because that's the job, that's the gig. It's not easy. It's not, gosh, I want to talk up to the red. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Parry. Councillor Mark Whittington, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. Just very quickly, you would obviously expect me to take a second bite of the cherry. Where Councillor Atkins and Councillor DeVille talked about the Pothole Pro, the JCB pothole machine, could I again ask that, if possible, it's hydrogen powered? I don't know whether they've got that far forward, but would you ask the question? And the second one is, I've seen part of the briefing that David Williams, I love him as well, and the most loved man in the chamber. And very quickly, I mean, you will be a devil in the future, so don't just relax in the power. But within there, there's a mention of Shay Lane, which everyone will know is my big bugbear at the moment. It's the only road in Staffordshire that's closed because of a collapsed culvert. And there is actual mention of it being done this year. So thank you very much. And you wouldn't expect anything else. I will be chasing you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Philip White, please.
Done, especially the East Midlands group, who I think have taken over from Moorlands in terms of being the biggest contributors this morning. But there are just a couple of things I will touch on. Highways is the universal service that all of our residents have opinions about, because it's the thing that everybody uses. Most of our residents are lucky that they don't have to use the services that we actually have to spend the majority of our money on, looking after vulnerable people. This is the one that they benchmark us on. So the interest that we have in this is understandable, because it's the thing that our electors talk to us about a lot. The challenges in terms of matching their aspirations, and indeed ours, because we all use those roads as well, to the realities of the funding that we have available, has been considerable for quite some years. But due to the hard work and prudence of this authority, we have been able to carve out the money to be able to create a 2-year capital programme here. And that's the first point that I wanted to really highlight. This is a 2-year programme for the first time in many years. And that's really important, because these are strategic investments. It's all very welcome when government wants to grant a few £1 million in a budget that we have to spend within the financial year. But what's required for Highways Capital Works is long-term planning. And we have worked extremely hard to push this out to 2 years so that we can do that. And my hope is that we'll be able to continue to keep it at that 2-year level, or to push it out further. In terms of our approach to this, these are strategic investments. They have a huge economic impact. One of the reasons why our roads are in the condition that they are is that so many businesses choose to operate here, and our roads do take a hammering as a result, and it is important that we continue to maintain those roads properly and improve them, not only to attract more businesses here, but also to keep the ones that we've got. It is really important, and to coordinate with them when we're doing works in their areas, as we're doing with JCB, with the much needed work outside their factory. The other key factor in this is our involvement as members, and I noted the comments about consultation with others around the priorities in local areas. That is our job, ladies and gentlemen, and the work that we are doing within our transformation board that leads our highways efforts, which is myself, Councillor DeVille and Councillor Williams leading the charge and looking very handsome whilst he does it, is focused on two things. The first is that long-term planning and having a programme. Based on need, we have an enormous amount of knowledge about the condition of our roads, and that is the thing that leads it. And it's an important point to note that a very large proportion of the money in this programme is going into our opposition members' divisions, and that's because that's where it's needed. And we're not worried about that sort of thing. It's about where the need is greatest. But that local member involvement is critically important in terms of getting the detail right. And you are our super users. You talk to your residents on a daily basis. You talk to your parish councils where you have them. You talk to your local businesses. You are that point of engagement. And a lot of the things that you'll hear about in this chamber over the rest of this year will be about enhancing that, making that easier for members to do, more effective, the thing that I would urge all members to do is to really strongly engage with that and be that voice in your communities for that work. I don't think that you should be looking to step out of that space. I think you should be looking to occupy that space and doing that work yourselves. And we'll be working hard to make sure that you've got the tools you need to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Thomas J, please.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't want to be left out in welcoming Councillor Farrell into the chamber. He's a fellow Tamworth colleague, and I think the by-election result shows that good, positive messages and hard work will serve us well. And obviously, thank you to yourself. You've been an excellent and fair chair throughout my time. Regarding this item, obviously, it's welcome news. There's a significant amount of investment coming to Tamworth, particularly in Councillor Pritchard's division, which is well used by everyone in Tamworth. I would just like to make a comment, though, that whilst the investment is welcome, we need to keep an eye on the quality of the repairs, because we're seeing often that the potholes that reappear are ones that have been repaired not so long ago. So, welcome investment, but let's keep an eye on the quality. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll now call on the lovely Councillor David Williams.
Thank you, Chairman. Love you too. And I'd also like to welcome Alex to the wonderful world of highways, and the fact that you'll be able to comment and get things done and manage his complaints. Also to congratulate you, Councillor Snape, on your term as chairman. I think you've carried out your work duties well. Quick one before I go into my part, the HS2 part that Councillor Francis is talking about. For a quick clarification, HS2 has stopped all work apart from the civil works. Those are carrying on. There is no mentions within the HS2 delay that any funding changes are being made where it comes to repairs of roads, but it's the civils will be carrying on. It is just the building of the new infrastructure that is actually stopped. When it comes to trees, for Councillor Hutton, just to make him aware that we already spend over £1 million on doing that, but we are also doubling down with that, and with some of the investments we're making with our districts and borough officers, we're making sure that that gets done even more. And with Shay Lane, there was £1 million already placed out in the budget, where there was that and another project that's already, that money is actually ring-fenced for, so that will be taking place this year. I'm extremely delighted to say that we're now looking to invest an extra £30 million over the next 2 years. Not to say that we also did £15.5 million investment this year on top of that. This is on top of our £50 million annual spend And this is going to help fund 5 major road reconstruction schemes at key locations going into towns, resurfacing of 9 junctions and roundabouts. And the way that we do that isn't on whose area it is, it's on where the greatest need is. Making sure that we carry out an extra 265,000 square metres of preventative surface treatment to preserve and extend the life of our roads. And as I say, putting £1 million of additional work into repairing highway drainage. The Highways boost comes on top of the County Council's successful bid to secure £19.8 million through the levelling up fund for improvements to roads, improvements to our bus network and our cycling routes in the county. I do get members asking me why we're doing the cycling routes, because people think that they don't like it. And the simple facts are 2 things. 1, I have a lot of cycling groups actually want more cycling routes. And 2, if we don't put cycling routes in the bids, we don't get a penny. So that's the reasons why. So that's the reasons why we do it. However, those investments are paying off, and there's one going in Cannock at the moment where it goes up to the MacArthur Glen, which is now being extended and finished off, as well as, with Councillor Thompson, making sure we've now extended it all the way up to Five Ways Island. So that's a massive part where we've utilised monies that we've given the District Council to open up a route and turn that into a usable cycle lane. This extra investment will deliver major benefits in key areas over the next 2 years. May the 24th springs to mind of when we're going to be doing the JCB roundabout, which we've already done in conjunction with them. But we recognise that there's always more to be done, and we continue to lobby central government for more funding to keep Staffordshire's roads in the condition we expect and ensure local communities, businesses can feel the benefits of an improved network. And we have been lucky enough that we're going to get just over £4 million from the government's latest £200 million pothole fund. We don't know, I haven't been given the conditions that are around that, but we will be utilising that to try and get as many of those potholes with the backlog and the work stack that we can. We're also looking at innovative methods for weed control and lower category defect repairs, working with newer companies, investigating new technologies to allow for a greater reduction of our work stack. Following the recent legal contractual agreement with our provider Amy, the provision of the Highways Transformation Programme is now being embedded, both with staff and will be with members. And the new methods of working, which will really include members being able to feed into that within the County Council programme, is going to have a greater level of control and audit for you as members and for me as the Cabinet member, which includes the provision of a dedicated website, which is soon to come online, social media information, which is now going to be going out on a regular basis, ensuring both the public and members remain fully informed, updated and regularly and appropriately. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. The lead for Council, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And you do know how much I love to talk about potholes. But look, in 2021, we went to the electorate and said we were going to make sure that we invested in potholes across this county. Tick, delivered. We are investing in potholes across this county. £30 million over 2 years because of good management of the authority, sound management by our departments across the County Council, and I thank everybody within the County Council for their hard work to deliver that, because without that hard work and close management, we wouldn't have this money to be able to put in. An additional £4 million plus announced by the government yesterday, and a nearly £20 million levelling up fund for the centre of the county. But so what? So what? It means nothing to our residents, because politics is retail, isn't it? The only pothole they care about is the one outside their front door. So we can talk about tens of millions of pounds here, £4 million from government there, nearly £20 million of levelling up fund there. But unless we're getting on with the job in people's local areas, then they don't really care about these tens of millions of pounds. And that's where you come in, encouraging our local residents to use the Report It app so that they're reporting those potholes so we can get them done, because without that information, there's nothing we can do about it. Final point from me, because I don't want to prolong a very long debate on or discussion on potholes. I know Councillor Williams to be a man of unimpeachable integrity. Offers of biscuits or other forms of seducement to fill the pothole outside your front door don't work with him. Okay, he does it on a priority basis and he'll keep on reminding you of that fact now and in the future. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Leader. Item 7, Armed Forces Covenant. Councillor Tina Clements, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I was honoured to go to the last Leaders Board to accompany Councillor Jeremy Oates when the signing of this military covenant took place. And as a veteran myself, this means so much to me personally, because this covenant embodies everything that this county council wants to do and does do to ensure that our veterans, our serving personnel and their families are looked after in the way that we would want to be looked after ourselves. So I thank this county council and I thank the leaders across the county for all signing up to that agreement and to ensure that our military personnel and their families are continued to be well looked after. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Clements. Last year I was pleased to attend the National Arboretum to receive a silver award on behalf of the county, so I know how our county has worked with our veterans. Councillor Philip Hudson, please.
Thank you, Chairman. As Chairman of the Royal British Legion branch at Uttoxeter, representing our armed forces and our veterans, can I say a massive big thank you to the Council and to all the leaders for your support. And it was lovely to see that our leader of East Staffordshire Borough Council, Councillor Allen, was one of the people that signed up. So on behalf of all our members, thank you so much.
Thank you. Councillor Richard Cox, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think I welcome this being done. It's extremely important. In reading a press article, I was disappointed to read a comment that said, "Shame on you all for signing a covenant." I think they clearly misunderstand what it's about. It is clearly that we, you know, they said it was a given. Well, I suppose it is a given, and that we are reminding ourselves the importance of our armed forces. So I think that sometimes when you see these keyboard warriors, they really don't understand the significance in the actions that this authority, and I'm very pleased to say that the boroughs and the district council leaders did for Staffordshire, because it really does show that we do care about our armed forces. And obviously in the Lichfield district we do have the NMA. How proud we are to have that. We are certainly seeing many visitors continually, and those visitors will increase. But it's a shame that some people don't see the good that we do. Thank you.
Thank you. It's not just Lichfield that's proud. I think the whole of Staffordshire is proud to have the NMA in our area. Councillor Simon Tagg, please.
Thank you, Chairman. First, I'd just like to echo the comments made welcoming our new member, Alex, who's sitting in front of me for Tamworth, and also the comments made about yourself, obviously coming to the end of your term, and thank you for the way you've chaired meetings throughout the last couple of years. I was honoured to join the leader of the County Council and also other council leaders from across the boroughs and districts to re-sign the Armed Service Covenant, reaffirming our pledge to the Armed Services community. Newcastle Borough and many of its residents have a long connection with the military, and it's right and fitting that we support them as they served our country, often in the most difficult circumstances. This year in Newcastle, we'll again be supporting the Armed Services Day in our town centre. The Borough Council offers concessions on membership to our leisure facilities to veterans, and we have a member champion and also a cabinet member with responsibilities for the Armed Service Covenant to ensure that they get the support that they need in our borough. Members will remember at the last meeting of council we received representations from Newcastle's tri-services relating to retaining their base in Newcastle Town Centre. I'd like to thank the ongoing work that Councillor Stephen Sweeney, who's a local member for the town area in Newcastle, for the work that he's doing, liaising with the tri-services and also the County Council to hopefully bring about a solution so that they can continue to provide their services in our town. I was pleased to hear, Mr Chairman, in the budget yesterday that the Chancellor announced a boost for defence spending at a time when we face many threats across the world, not only in Ukraine, but also from a dominant China as well. And I'm sure the leader would agree with me that having a strong armed forces will keep this country safe and also the world safe. And, you know, tribute again to those armed forces that are out in the world at the moment, whether that's in, you know, the South Atlantic, whether that's in Estonia or anywhere in the world, the work that they're doing for us at the moment. And of course, they will eventually become the armed service veterans that we will want to look after by reassigning this armed service covenant. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Jan Teaglan, please.
Thank you, Mr Chairman, and welcome to the County Councillor, the new County Council from Tamworth. Welcome. Yes, I'd like to add my 5 pence to the paying a tribute to the Armed Forces of Staffordshire. Lichfield City Council, who I'm a member of, have a long association with the Armed Forces at Whittington Barracks, and we've given them several times, the barracks, the freedom of the City March. In fact, it was only 2 years ago, when I had the honour of wearing your chain of office, Chairman, that we gave them the freedom of the city. It was quite a unique form of parade, because they, as you know, they are now the medical area of Whittington Barracks. And the commander of the armed forces came up to me after the Freedom March and said, because he hadn't learnt to march, being in the medical position, he had to go to his sergeant and ask him to teach him how to march, because it was so important when they paraded through the city of Lichfield. So yeah, I'm very happy to join in with my colleagues in paying a tribute to our armed forces. Thank you.
The leader, please.
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I'm obviously delighted to be signing the Armed Forces Covenant as a former member of the Armed Forces. And I think every 5 generations of my family have served in the Armed Forces, including my son, who's currently an armoured reconnaissance commander with the Royal Lancers. I think for those people who just contemplate the sacrifice of many members of the Armed Forces in conflicts since the Second World War, it is worth going to the National Memorial Arboretum, because on the times that I go there, I see the names of former friends and colleagues who gave their lives in the service of this country. And we do need to remember that for those people who do pay the ultimate sacrifice, for every one of those that do that, there's also a lot of men and women who are injured in the line of duty, both physically and mentally. And as a result of that, I think it is worth just reflecting momentarily on that sacrifice. Time in the armed forces is a fantastic time for a young man, as I was, but it does carry its costs. And those costs can be borne for some considerable time afterwards once you've left your service. And knowing that your local community, through the expression of the Armed Forces Covenant, is in support of you, is something which I think is deeply valued by people who live in an area, knowing that the local authorities, be it the City Council of Lichfield, be it district and borough councils, or the county council itself, are there to help you when you need help, is something that I think is deeply, deeply appreciated by serving and former members of the armed forces. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Item 8, New History Centre. Councillor Caroline Trowbridge first, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I also welcome Alex, and I'm very upset that this is the last time you four will be on that front bench, but you have served absolutely excellent as chairman. Thank you. I first want to thank the leader, something I don't think I've ever done before, for your statement. I could have spoken on absolutely everything so far, from my daughter's boyfriend working on the JCB hydrogen project, right through to every community project, and the armed forces, as this was our last posting, Stafford. So, but I'm going to talk on the new history centre, because since I've been a county councillor for Staffordshire, I have been a trustee of the William Salt Library. This project has been absolutely excellent from start to finish. This year alone, we've had 69, this full year, sorry, we've had 69 volunteers pumping over 3,000 hours of work into this project. But I really do need to thank Joanne Terry, who's Head of Archive and Heritage, who has led this, along with Mithra, who chairs the project. And I just wanted to have it on record that those two ladies have been inspirational to this project, and I thank them very much.
Thank you very much. Councillor John Francis, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think this is absolutely fantastic. It's a jewel in the crown, another jewel in the crown for Staffordshire, this is. I was a trustee for quite a few years for this county and before that. And the William Salt Library is an absolutely fantastic collection of stuff about Staffordshire, including photographs and old documents, particularly of things like Shugborough Hall. And my wife did her BA, and a lot of the work that she did was through the William Salt Library House. It was an incredible archive of the history of Stafford. So this will be absolutely brilliant, and it will attract visitors from all over the county and in particular outside the county. So this is a really welcome addition. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Francis. Councillor Mark Sutton, please.
So you'll be pleased to know this is the last item where I'm pretending to be somebody that I'm not, other than a question later on. Can I first of all just echo the views of both the previous two members that have spoken about this project. Our archives are one of the most comprehensive in the whole of this country. You know, they go back 1,000 years. And some of us who were here a few years ago will remember when we were commemorating the end of the First World War, and it was around about that time that they had a project where they'd uncovered in the archives records from the court that was held here in Stafford, and in trying to determine whether people should be exempt from service. And supposedly there was an instruction that all those records were destroyed, but for some reason somebody decided over 100 years ago to keep those. And it's things like that that show a massive social record going back. So this project, having enough space for all those things to be together, that history centre where people can visit, and as John Francis mentioned, attract visitors not only from Staffordshire but from across the county, has to be absolutely celebrated. And there will be additional strong room facilities that will hold archives for another 55 years. So this is absolutely fantastic news for Staffordshire and for the county town. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Just to inform you, Councillor Sutton, Councillor Victoria Williams did want to speak on the next item as well, so you've got a few moments to prepare while I call the leader. The leader, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I couldn't resist standing to acknowledge Councillor Trowbridge's praise. 6 years, that's all it's taken, but it got there in the end. To Councillor Francis, you will be delighted to know that within the Stafford History Centre, they're keeping a little cupboard with a glass frontage to insert you into it in due course as part of Stafford's history. And it is a very little cupboard, by the way. On a slightly more serious note, I just want to take the opportunity, having been whispered at by the Deputy Leader, about the huge amount of investment that's going into Stafford, our county town. The Stafford History Centre is just one of a series of investments going into the county town, which I think we should all celebrate. It's part of a jigsaw. That jigsaw includes the highways investment as part of the Levelling Up Fund bid, Shire Hall, Market Square, amongst others that have come before, which is seeing the transformation of Stafford in a way that I think we all hoped for many, many years. This is our county town. We should be proud of it. We should be investing in it. And the History Centre is just one of many components of great opportunity for the county town of Staffordshire.
Thank you, everybody. Item 9, Staffordshire Day. Councillor Jeremy Oates, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to welcome Alex. I shared a lift with him on Monday. So Staffordshire Day, Mr Chairman, hasn't quite cut through in Tamworth. And that's probably because it's immediately before our annual local elections. And the people that should be leading it, in terms of politicians, are elsewhere delivering stuff through people's doors. However, Tamworth shouldn't be forgotten and shouldn't be missed out. We may only be 4 miles by 6, but we're significantly important. And in celebrating Staffordshire and the Staffordshire brand, I'd like to congratulate those at Tamworth Tap, which is a brewery and pub in Tamworth. And I understand they are the first pub in Staffordshire to receive the title of CAMRA National Pub of the Year. So I'd like to congratulate George and Louise Greenaway in their achievement. Staffordshire Day, do something different is one of the themes. So on the back of their success, something different's happening in Tamworth. For the first time ever, they are not just selling their ale at their pub, but they've also sold me a barrel to sell in the local club where I drink, which is in Tina Clemence's division. So for the first time ever, on Staffordshire Day, Tamworth Tap Brewed Ale will be for sale in Belgrave Sports and Social Club. Thank you, Mr Chairman.
Wonderful news. Councillor Tina Clemence, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I think Councillor Oates has read my notes because he's just said everything I was going to say. But as my new portfolio role in Tamworth, Staffordshire Day 2023 is learn something new, not do something new. So I've thrown down the gauntlet to our senior leadership team, which includes Councillor Oates, who's not listening at the moment, to learn something new. And I've got a few things in mind that Jeremy's going to be doing that he doesn't know about yet. So I've thrown down the challenge, and I look forward to our community learning something new, because Tamworth is important. We are only little, but we are important, and just as the same as the rest of Staffordshire. Thank you.
Well sold. Councillor Philip White, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. So, as the chairman of Enjoy Staffordshire, the tourist board for Staffordshire, Staffordshire Day is one of, if not the most important event in our calendar. It's a brilliant opportunity for us all to shout about our fantastic county, and to draw together all the strands of what is a very big and diverse place. You look at a map of Staffordshire and you see just how enormous it is. The fact that, along with stretching down to Worcestershire, across to Warwickshire, and up to Cheshire, we also have 25% of the Peak District, up towards Derbyshire as well. Enormous place, huge diversity, massive range of attractions, and this is a great chance to celebrate all of that, along with our Staffordshire culture, that generous, welcoming, friendly culture that we have here in our county. But I am just slightly tempted by Councillor Oates and Councillor Clement's comments about Tamworth, because I think sometimes Tamworth can be slightly forgotten in this in this discussion, and it's somewhere that's very important to me at the moment, because at Drayton Manor there's Thomasland, and my 2-year-old is just getting really interested in that. So Drayton Manor's become quite a big feature on our landscape. We're not quite at the Snowdome yet, but in a few years' time, hopefully. But Tamworth Castle, we took him round recently, and he was completely disinterested, but we thought it was absolutely amazing, especially the sort of virtual reality displays that they've got there. We did also take the opportunity to visit the Tamworth Tap, and the beer garden looks out on the castle, and maybe that's the best attraction of all, I don't know, but it's a great place. So I just thought I'd be tempted into saying a few nice things about one of our amazing parts of our county. So celebrate Staffordshire Day, bang the drum for it. It's a brilliant chance for us to show our pride in the place that we all call home.
Thank you, Councillor White. As an older parent, and many of them are in here, you'll realise that having children is a time to relive your own childhood, so enjoy it. Item 10, school places. Councillor Nigel Yates, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And I read this report with interest. Very pleased to see that we're above average in the allocation of, I was going to say primary school places, but I don't mean it as a primary school places. I mean the first choice school places. What I want to sort of say, though, is, and again, living in an area in some respects similar to Tamworth. I never considered it like that because Biddulph's 6 miles by 4 miles as well. So, you know, it's quite a big place, not quite the population. But we are on a little bit of an isolated fringe, and one of the problems which we've got is a lack of send provision places within the town, which brings its problems with being squeezed between Cheshire on one side, Stoke-on-Trent on the other side, and trying to service within the Staffordshire school system. There's an awful lot of reliance upon transport, and I'm very aware that that puts additional stress upon the SEND community and the SEND children, and also it puts an additional and considerable cost upon the county council. So what I would like to make a case for, and I know that we've raised it at Biddulph level with my colleague here, Councillor Flunder, and I know we've got a meeting coming up at the end of the month with the Cabinet member, but I think it's important to consider the allocation of spaces and the availability so people can get a choice within the local area for those who need SEND provision. And I know there's work being done at some of the local schools with capital projects. It's getting the revenue projects and getting these things off the ground, especially in such a difficult time. But really, to offset that cost of transport, instead of spending the money there, spend it in actually local provision and look at some of the areas like Biddulph, which is quite isolated, which hasn't got a direct link to the centralisation as other towns within the region have, whether that be Newcastle, whether that be Leek or whatever. So it's just an appeal to not forget the whole school-age community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Janteglen, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I have a resident that has fallen into this hole, as you might say. She has a young daughter who's got a few special needs, but unfortunately this little girl has been turned down from a place at the school. And of course, I've informed the Cabinet member of this distress this lady's going through with her little girl. We are going to go to an appeal. The difference is the school that would have been suitable for this little girl to go to is a mile away from where she lives and where her grandmother lived as well. But she's been given an allocation of a school 3 miles away. So I would like to say to the Cabinet member and whoever he has to look at this positions of choosing where these children go to school, I would sincerely like to say, would you please give this girl a consideration? She does need to have to be in a nearer school where it's not getting on a bus or even walking the extra time and miles to go to her school. So if there is a need to appeal and I can be of any help, Chairman, I'd like to do that on the child's behalf. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Philip Hudson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Not only have I enjoyed you here in the council chamber here in Stafford as the chairman, but I've also enjoyed your company around Staffordshire over the last 12 months, where we've been in the chain gang and we've supported each other in various charity events. So it's been great, and wish you all the best for the future. I need to talk about a myth that's going around Uttoxeter about school places. And because we've got a lot of recent developments now of new housing, people are saying that we don't have enough school places. Yes, we do. We've had a new, I'm very proud of the 3-tier system of education in Uttoxeter, and long may it remain. We've just had a new first school built on Bramshaw Meadows for our first school students. We have capacity to expand our 2 middle schools and possibly the 3rd middle school out at Rycroft if we need to. I know that Oldfields have recently had a planning application submitted and agreed to expand there, and there's enough land on Windsor Park to expand that school if we need to. And I'm a school governor at Thomas Lane School, and I can tell you that we have 300 places at that school. So there's plenty of capacity within Uttoxeter at this present time. So I'd like to disperse the myth with our local residents that there aren't enough places. Yes, there are. On Monday, in one of my civic duties, I had the pleasure to visit the Fountains Primary School in Burton-upon-Trent, which is a special school for special educational needs and disabled students. And what a wonderful place that is. And the staff there work so marvellously with our students. But what came to my attention was that the lack of places within East Staffordshire for students with SEND requirements. That school has a waiting list for about 3 or 4 years to get their people into the school. I'm thinking that perhaps one of my future projects over the next 2 years as a councillor in East Staffordshire, and particularly Uttoxeter, is to look at the possibility that we build another school for people with SEN and disabled needs. So perhaps we could think about that over the future years, because there is a need there, and as the staff and parents were telling me, the amount of money that was costing us in getting students to fountains from around the county, it would be cheaper to buy a school, to purchase and build a new school locally. So it's something that we possibly need to think about, Mr. Price. Thank you.
Councillor Philip White, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairman. Just a couple of brief comments from me, and it relates back in part to the extensive discussion we had about highways earlier, and I mentioned that highways is one of those universal services that people all experience during their family lives, and it's one of the other things that we are judged on. It's also one of the hygiene factors for businesses that are looking to relocate to our area. If you've got good roads and good schools, you'll be an attractive area for people to come to because they'll know that their employees want to be here. So it's important in all sorts of ways. And our track record in delivering school places for people with all sorts of needs is exceptional. We massively outperform. And that is particularly impressive in an area with the amount of rurality that we have. Councillor Yates mentions the rurality in the moorlands. That's a common factor around Staffordshire. So that achievement that we have is huge. I don't want to steal any of Councillor Price's thunder, but I just wanted to say a huge well done to him and his team on this. Keeping this up year after year does not happen by accident. Really well done to you and your officers, and let's hope that that continues for many years to come. I suspect it will.
Thank you. I'll now call the Cabinet Member for Education, Councillor John Price, please.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for the past 12 months and the work that you've done. I'd also like to thank Alex, who has disappeared, and I'd also like to welcome Councillor Yates, as I wasn't here at the last full council meeting. Councillor Eaglen, I'll take up your point outside of this meeting if that's all right, but of course we'll fully support you with whatever we can do, and I also appreciate the comments from Councillor Hudson and both yourself as well. I have actually visited the Fountain School very recently. I've also visited several of the schools within Uttoxeter and had a guided tour by Councillor Philip Atkins as well. And I've also been out to Biddulph recently and visited several schools there, so I'm quite aware of the issues that are being raised in the area. For me, it's not about putting more special school places within the community. It is about making sure that those more moderate learners are able to learn in a mainstream setting with the right support. This enables them to have better independence as well. I have visited a lot of the special school estates, and it's become apparently obvious that some of the children within some of these schools are more than capable of being looked after, supported and educated within that mainstream setting. And that will then help us free up some of those special school settings for those children that really, really need it. So happy to have a further discussion with you outside of this room. We are currently doing a complete review of our enhanced provision and special school places across the county, and that will be out in a couple of months. And again, that will be shared with colleagues. But for today, we're talking about our admissions record. So every year, around 10,000 pupils will be transferring from either their Staffordshire primary or middle school into secondary or high school. This process starts each September with parents and carers receiving the outcomes of their applications on the National Offer Day, which of course was March the 1st each year. It is great to see that Staffordshire is once again well above the national indicator for first preferences. Colleagues within the school admissions and transport team work closely with our school organisation team to plan and provide those school places where they are needed. Only yesterday in Cabinet we approved the Schools Capital Programme, which provides the funding for us to deliver these school places. And amongst that paper as well was the announcement of several school projects and builds that we're doing. I'm really pleased to announce that we're building a 2 FE school in Lichfield, which is due to open in 2025. And for Stafford members, and the leader alluded to earlier about the work that's going on in our county town, the Kingston Centre is due to be completed this summer, which is fantastic. Burley Fields is to have a new 2-form entry primary school. And of course, Beaconside, this September, we start work on a new single FE school. And it's a testimony to the work that is done here to make sure that those places are available for our pupils. I think Staffordshire does a fantastic job when it comes to doing school building and capital schools programme. Thank you, Chairman.
And Councillor Price, the former school governor, I know how hard you work and how beneficial it is to all the schools across the county, so thank you. Item 6, recommendations to the council. My apologies. New chapter for business startups. Councillor Philip Atkins.
Thank you, Chairman. I welcome this coming on the agenda because I've been self-employed for, I've got to think now, is it 54 years? It's something like that. And somebody asked me, it's like I'm a Schedule D taxpayer, not a Schedule E. It's for you to look it up if you don't know what that means. But to start up a business today is quite difficult with all the new regulations that have gone on since I started up. And I'm even having a bit of a legal argument at the moment about a list of fixed assets. And I looked at the list of fixed assets in my business, and some of them go back to 1969 and they've disappeared. And so you get onto your accountant, oh, well, it's not relevant at the moment, and et cetera, et cetera. So it really is complicated. Regulation and everything else. And I know that I was at South Staffs College Audit Committee yesterday. I'm a governor there. And we've been looking at putting in place, we've just been hearing about schools, but putting in place the sort of things that will be needed in the land-based industries looking forward. And there's also, we're just finishing off the aspects of a £36 million project in conjunction with Tamworth Borough Council to build a new college in Tamworth itself. The quality of the governors, I have to say, is exceptional, and the chief exec and the staff there. Because to get your head around these things about putting in place things that are needed for the future of however we're going is extremely difficult. And so helping people through the process, however elementary it may be, is very difficult. And I recently noticed the Country Landowner and Business Association set 3 documents out about SWOT analysis, doing a business plan, and the different sorts of business partnerships, joint ventures, whatever it may be, that are available. Which leads me on to something that I think the council ought to consider when we're doing our business advice. The most successful ones are in the rural areas, not the urban. But we have an urban focus because we all think in the rural areas it's all to do about farming. It isn't. It is a wide industry from tourism through all sorts of send projects. There's a whole host of them. And adaptation of buildings, construction, haulage, logistics. I've seen a business that sells fencing materials all over the Midlands. It's massive. I was telling the chief exec the other day, I loaded a load of wheat up the other day. The lorries, 8 lorries a week, are coming north of Inverness with large shore boulders to London for decorative purposes, and the return trip is a load of malt barley for Glenfiddich Distillery. Those are the sorts of things that are going on out there. But to get into this, and you read all these documents, and I do read a lot, I admit that. But I came across another word, as well as SWOT, which I have heard used before, and I've used it here, which is PESL. Political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental aspects of whatever your new project is going forward. And in the rural areas at the moment, the government is drawing up policies on the hoof. Because in 2 years' time, farm support finishes, but there's £2.4 billion going to be allocated out into the rural area, and they don't know how they're going to do it. They're paying us for things that we already do. So, much as I see this and think it's the right way to go, there is a wealth of partnership working that needs to be done across the further, higher and Chambers of Commerce and CLA and NFU, etc. And I'm pleased to say that see and go tomorrow to the opening of a new vet school at Keele, which has been a lot of hard work with Harper Adams, Keele University. But I find out that there are no vet universities in Ireland, and Liverpool, for example, is training most of the Irish vets. And on Saturday, I will be enjoying with our Irish colleagues the Midland Grand National at Uttoxeter races, and they'll be up from the Cheltenham Gold Cup, which will be happening tomorrow. So it is truly an international industry, and I met some equestrian students at Robertson the other week who were really going hard and learning to do it. So there are jobs out there you'd never even think of. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. As we all know, it's St Patrick's Day tomorrow, so enjoy it. Councillor Nigel Yates, please.
Yes, thank you, Chair. And yes, equally, I'll follow Councillor Atkins' lead. I'm very pleased to see this come up in the report because I personally have benefited from this type of scheme and information in 2008 when I lost my job in the economic crisis and started up my own business, and I had one-to-one support. And I have been doing some background reading online to see what support is available, and I am absolutely delighted that within that is a number of hours of free one-to-one support to get through the minefield of the regulation to set up a company. You think, oh, I've got a fantastic idea. Once you get a go, the tax authorities get involved and it's absolute chaos. So I really do support that. And I think at the time of economic stress, these things are very important. I just wonder sometimes how the link is for people who've got an idea and people who've got an aspiration, or perhaps it's a wish list in the back, actually engage with it in the first place. And I know there's a lot of online access there. So I presume, and I just like confirmation, that access can be gained to these schemes and things, and signposting is done through the various job centres and business chambers. Which brings me on to another thing on business chambers. One of the things which has suffered a bit of a demise during the COVID pandemic as people have sort of dissipated and stopped meeting together is the local sort of business chambers. I'm sure they're quite strong in some of the bigger urban areas, but in the small urban areas, they have sort of suffered and disappeared like a lot of organisations have. And I think in some respects, if it's possible to sort of bring a presentation together which could be actually put forward at a sort of restarting event for the sort of more sort of town and parish business chambers to get them interested and actually draw them in to say that you've got something exciting to present and demonstrate, and perhaps we can get some of these business chambers which have dropped by the wayside actually getting going again, and then we can drive a little bit of economic oomph, so to speak, within Staffordshire, which is obviously sorely needed. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor John Francis, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Just briefly, I'm on the board of directors of the BIC from Staffordshire County Council, and I've been for 14 years nearly. Unfortunately, we've got to wind the BIC up, and there's a lot of the business innovation centres across the country that are struggling because most of them were set up with European money and were European funding. We've gone to EBN has gone by the board. So we're going to wind the company up. It's unfortunate because the BIC funded quite a lot of business innovators at core grassroots and got a lot of businesses off the ground in Staffordshire. So it's my sad duty to inform the council that it will probably close around about April time. But if people want to have a look at the BIC sites and have a peruse and see what it did, it'll be eye-opening, to be quite frank. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Mike Sutherland, please.
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to say on a lighter note, if I may, John, this is a great report and an update. All I want to do is just share with you that our enterprise centre in Rugeley is up to capacity. That's fantastic. Also, for the first time, South Staffs College will shortly be up to capacity. It's the first time ever, and that building's been going 6 decades. That's a long, long time. New building and construction going in there, carpentry's already in, small amount of electrical skills that's been upgraded and developed, and plumbing. So when I read the opening one, jam-packed learning, you're describing Cannock. And thank you for the support that this council has given us in Cannock Chase. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Sutherland. Councillor Philip White, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman. So, good one to end on, I think, this really, because we've had lots of conversations today about the things that this council does that support businesses, and this is the most direct example, and it speaks to, firstly, the strategic approach that we take. So, the item mentions that our Back to Business strategy had a real focus on business startups, and the reasons for that are manifold. The first is Staffordshire is a great place to start a business. We've known for many years that businesses that do start up in Staffordshire tend to do well. They outperform the national average in terms of survival, but we don't have enough of them. And so we felt it was a good idea to do something about that. And what this evidence is that we've been very successful in that. How we went about that is we worked in partnership with our districts and boroughs, and we also worked in partnership with business representative groups, such as the Chambers of Commerce, Federation of Small Businesses, and others, to put together a really strong offer to support businesses from their inception. As someone who started a business myself, I know that it's brilliant when you have that great idea and decide you're going to do something about it, but that wraparound support is really important, and it's often the things that you learn from that help you get past the first year once the adrenaline's gone and you've got the reality of running a business, and that's exactly what this does. Now, we work in an ever-changing landscape, and Councillor Francis has mentioned one business support organisation that's run its course. There are some other very big ones that are about to run their course, because the government announced yesterday that LEPs, local enterprise partnerships, are ending in a year's time. So we work in a changing environment, but the thing that's really important is that we're constantly playing our part, delivering the support that people need to be able to set up these businesses, and then crucially to grow them. And that's the final thing that I'll mention, because in our new economic strategy, we've had a slight shift. So we have a strong focus on business startups still, but we also have a focus on business step-ups. So that first 5 years, as companies grow and expand, and what we're hoping to see there is to support more of those businesses to go from employing 1 person to 2 to 5 to 10 to 20. And hopefully some of them will be the JCBs of the future. And many of them in our rural areas. Over 50% of our economy is in those rural areas. And Councillor Atkins is right to mention that. They're many of our champions as well. So this council doing what it does best, working with others to do the things that people in Staffordshire need done.
Thank you. Can I thank everybody for a good debate on the leader's statement? I think it's went very, very well this morning. Now we go to item 6, recommendation to the council. Staffordshire Electoral Review, Staffordshire Boundary Proposals. Councillor Alan White, will you move consideration of the report, please?
Thank you, Mr Chairman. I move consideration of the Staffordshire Electoral Review, Staffordshire Boundary Proposals.
Councillor Philip White, will you second?
Thank you, Chair. I'll second it and reserve the right to speak if there is any debate.
Councillor David Smith, please.
Thank you, Chairman. It would be very remiss of me not to say what a pleasure it's been to serve on this council under your chairmanship, and particularly to enjoy your curry evenings, and we shall miss those as time goes by. So thank you for that, Chairman. And also to congratulate Alex as our new councillor, and the work that I know that he's done in Tamworth that he will bring to this council. And so welcome very much, Alex. I think it perhaps fairly unfortunate that when we look at the report that we've got in front of us today, that Tamworth has worked so hard to maintain its councillors on this council, now to find that it's fighting the Boundary Commission and it's going to lose one. But so be it, we shall survive. Chairman, I find the recommendations a little difficult. I find half I can support and half I can't support. I find it a little odd when it says in the report, agree the proposals for Staffordshire's boundary changes on the basis that they don't suit my division. And I think that the purpose of being a councillor is to serve the people and to serve the community first, not to number crunch. I do appreciate that we're required to number crunch and get our numbers correct, but I don't think, as far as my division, and I suspect maybe other members' divisions, that those don't quite work out. But where we've been asked to agree the proposals for Staffordshire boundary changes, we then, under item C, that the leader of the council and the deputy chief executive, that they're going to be looking at that and making the final recommendations. So what we're looking at now is not the proposals that will go forward, they're proposals that the leader will consider and will finally make a recommendation. So I find it's a mixed bag of items. I don't know whether it's easiest to abstain or simply say that I support item C for the leader to look at, in which case I hope that he will come back to me and we'll have some discussions on what we're going to do as far as a rural area is concerned, taking on something which is urban. So, Chairman, maybe as far as the debate is concerned, I will come to some conclusion about whether I can support or not support. But if the leader is going to take a serious look at where we have problems, then I support the motion, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Hookfield, please.
Yeah, can I just say, Mr. Chairman, I think sometimes we tend to get some things wrong. My understanding, if I'm wrong, somebody tell me, is this goes out to consultation. So really, we aren't making the decision today, right? It's got to go to consultation. So outside, we talk about parish councils and all that, and these different organisations, right? This report will go to them, right? And they will decide it. That's how I understand it. Then it comes back to the county council. Right? Now, if I'm wrong, I think that the leader of the council will tell me. And while I'm up, can I just say, Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry to see you leaving that seat. I think we've got on pretty well after the first time, right? And I think the next one that takes your position, I hope they've taken notice, right? Because when I want to speak, I don't give up until I do speak, right? And you've got to understand that, because that's the sort of person I am. And I think we've got a communication between one another, Mr. Chairman, right? And I think, really, at the end of the day, I tend to get away with such a lot. And you've been very lenient, right? I mean, yeah, I can hear me, yes, oh yes. I mean, you all agree with me on that. And I think at the end of the day, Mr. Chairman, can I just say, thank you very much. You've done a wonderful job.
Thank you. I've been quoted in the Evening Sentinel for things you've said. I've had to correct you as a leader. So we do note everything you say, every word. Thank you, but thank you very much for the comments. Let's not... Councillor Philip Atkins, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it's quite right, actually. These are just proposals and consultation, because we don't even make the final decision. It's the local government boundary commission for England, LGBCE. And, you know, we sat down, you know, and when you have a large rural county like Staffordshire, there is bound to be real issues. And I can remember that we sat down in one of the workshops for East Staffordshire, and we had one with 8 members and one with 9. And the 9 members was even worse than the 8 members because we couldn't get the figures right. The building blocks are parish councils. Not everywhere is parished. That's another issue. And these proposals, Utoxeter Rural takes in a little bit of Utoxeter. Phil Hudson's not here at the moment. And because the county's grown in size in certain areas like Burton-on-Trent and Stafford, where others have stayed still, having 62 members actually is an enlargement of our responsibilities. For the average has gone, for the average we represent has gone up. And whereas the LGBC are looking for less councillors, they are doing it in a bit of a backhanded way with us. And I know in our borough, we've ended up with a load of 2- and 3-member wards. And I can guarantee that the parishioners that I lose from Uttoxeter Rural will not like these proposals. And they will put forward alternatives. I'm certain of it. I can just hear them now, you know, they're going, poof, you know, what the hell's going on here? You know, so I love Abbots Bromley. Julia said I was doing crocodile tears, but I do actually love Abbots Bromley, and at the moment I'm their most vociferous representative because the local member for Harrogate, for Baggots Ward is living in Harrogate. So they come to me about the car cruising and racing across Blithfield Reservoir, and you may find that Blithfield Parish Council say, we want nothing to do with that, we want to go with that lot up there. So, you know, I think these are just proposals, and I echo what David Smith has said, but it isn't our final proposal. It isn't our decision. It's a bit like HS2, actually. We get shot for what others do. So, my sympathies, Alan.
Councillor Mike Worthington, please.
Thank you, Chairman. I also offer my best wishes for the future, whatever you decide to do within the council. But no, we've had some good curry nights, like David said. We've had some good nights, some good supportive nights, and you supported the Stafford ball, and you came to the chairman's ball, which I hope we made you very welcome. I agree with David, really. When I first saw these come out, and I reported to Cheddleton Parish Council that we were suddenly going to go into Caverswall, it was shock horror. I mean, Cheddleton is the heart of the Churnet Valley. You've got the Churnet Valley Railway in Cheddleton. And all of a sudden, I'm in Caverswall Ward, and I've got a bit of Cheadle. Well, I've got no affinity for Cheadle, really. I've got a little bit of Cheadle now, but they're going to give me Cheadle West. Anyway, luckily, they have listened to my protestations about what they're going to do, and I have reported back now that it's now been taken back out and put back in the Churnet Valley where it should be. But they're still pinching some of my water leak south, which probably Charlotte might be happy or not happy with, I don't know. But I certainly wasn't, because I also represent Birchall and the Town Council of Leek as their county councillor. And now I no longer will be that. So these people sit behind desks organising these boundaries, and I think I'm still plus 3%. Well, they can have a bit of Cheadle off me if they want, but leave me alone, please. Are you listening, Lee? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Worthington. Councillor Mark Willington, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Echoing what Philip said and one or two others, we've been here before with boundary changes, and they are incredibly difficult. It's not a simple thing to it's like Scrabble with all the letters taken off, and they just throw them on the table and say, sort it out between yourselves. And then invariably the Boundary Commission go and do something else. And I think I'm just a little bit disappointed that because of the fact we need to have less councillors according to the Electoral Commission, that the growth in Staffordshire has been such that we're now having to impact on rural areas with imposing fairly dense town areas, and that's sort of happened in mine. And there's no other way around it, because if you start changing the balls or the chairs around, you then start impacting elsewhere. And there's just one paragraph in my bit that sort of actually typifies this. And it says about the urban and rural. There's a rural ward impacted by urban. And it says, however, we wouldn't be able to achieve the electoral quality requirements for the whole of Stafford while maintaining the identity of communities without this mix. So what it means in mine, for example, is we have to cross over the motorway, which is a natural boundary, and then add a lot of new houses, some of which haven't been built yet. So for the parish councils out there, for the people who live out there, it does seem a bit strange, but because we've got only 62 councillors and a lot more electorate, it is doing some strange things to the divisions. Well done to the officers that have tried to sort this out. It's a little bit like herding cats, but which where we are. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Philip White, do you wish to speak first? No. Okay, the leader, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And forgive me, it's remiss of me not to thank you for your 2 years in the chair. Councillor Huckfield very, very exquisitely gave you praise. And I congratulate you on dealing with Councillor Huckfield. It's been rather like managing a rabid ferret on speed. Just visualise that momentarily, please. I'm extremely grateful to Councillor Philip Atkins, the Father of the House, for his comments on the process of doing the electoral review. It is difficult, and last time we did it, he was where I'm seated now. It is a process that will not satisfy everybody in this chamber. And it is a process, and thank you to Councillor Huckfield. I was going to come on to the less flippant comments now. Thank you for your comments. Just reminding us all that this is part of a step in a process. It goes out to consultation. We have had the opportunity in this chamber to come up with something that we will submit as a county council, not as individual councillors, to the Boundary Commission for England and their process. You, of course, are free to submit your own response to the public consultation as individual county councillors. And you should rest assured that no matter whereabouts in this chamber you are seated, whether you're an independent, a member of the Labour group, a member of the Conservative group, you'll find people opposite you wanting to submit their proposals too. So I'm sure that Councillor Charlotte Atkins will have somebody from the Conservatives submitting a proposal around your division in due course. Equally, we will have people from the Labour Party, Lib Dems, Greens and what have you, submitting alternative proposals around your divisions. So this is not the final article, not by some considerable way yet. This is what we've managed to achieve, trying to strike the balance and based on the criteria set out by the Boundary Commission for England, and it's a tough ask. And to that, I just want to, in particular, pay tribute to Katie Marshall. Wow, what a job you've done, Katie. Through thick and thin, ups and downs, ins and outs. Some councillors give you a hard time, some councillors have given you an easier time, but here we are today with these proposals finally tabled for the council. To Councillor Smith's point, I will address these directly. Have we, brackets I, taken a serious look at these proposals? Yes, we have. Very serious indeed. And this is the best we are able to come up with, given the criteria that are set out. Every single councillor in this chamber has had the opportunity to be part of the process within this organisation. You may have not taken that opportunity. I know, Councillor Smith, you have most definitely taken the opportunity to submit your views through the process twice. Notwithstanding that fact, we have come up with a set of proposals which I know that you are not satisfied with. So if you choose to abstain this morning, that's your prerogative. And I can understand why you might choose to go that way. But overall, when we consider the 62 divisions that we have across the county, this is probably the best we can come up with under the circumstances. So, ladies and gentlemen, fellow councillors, I move the recommendations as set out in the paper with you, Chairman.
Any to the contrary? Thank you. Item 6B, MEMS Allowance Scheme, Independent Remuneration Panel Report. Councillor Alan White, will you move consideration report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My first duty is to thank members of the Independent Remuneration Panel for their hard work. We have a member of the Independent Remuneration Panel in the public gallery, and thank you very much indeed for all the work that you do. Remuneration for councillors is an issue which is frequently debated, and we've got to a situation now where we have within the Constitution a part of the Constitution which says that councillors will have the same rate of pay increases as the officers of the council. That removes any sort of points of contention that we might be having in this chamber. This year is different. This year, the pay award for officers has been set at £1,950, which means that the percentage increase that we would normally have transferred over into the councillor's allowance doesn't apply this year. So the method that I suggested to the Independent Remuneration Panel, and indeed they have adopted this year, is to look at the average officer increase based on £1,950, and it works out to just over 3.5%. I'll just get the number here. Under 3.5%, 3.49%. So the average employee at Staffordshire County Council in receipt of the cash award of £1,950, that equates to 3.49%. So it seems equitable to me that councillors wouldn't be taking the flat cash increase, which would equate to about 20% increase. What they would do instead is take the average for a council employee, which is 3.49%, which is what is recommended here. Further, the Independent Remuneration Panel has also considered the rates for the chairman and the vice chairman of this authority. The rationale that sits behind that is that they would like to see the pay rates for those two posts move to the average of a chairman and vice chairman for our comparator authorities, and they are set out within the papers. The problem that we have with this drive to achieve average for the chairman and the vice chairman is that if we're considering that this group of people here should be paid the average for councillors represented by the chairman and the vice chairman, and indeed all of you in this chamber, then there should be an endeavour for all of us to move simultaneously to an average, and that isn't achieved in this. What it does is it selects the chairman and the vice chairman separately and says we'll do the rest later. My view is that we shouldn't be doing the rest later, we should be doing them all simultaneously. And so to that end, Mr. Chairman, the recommendations that are set out, I would like to, within those recommendations, remove recommendations B1 and B2, which refer directly to the allowance of the chairman and the vice chairman. I don't know if you need to look to the monitoring officer at this point. I don't know whether or not you need to declare an interest because it refers to your position specifically, or given the fact you've only got days to do, whether or not you can sit there and just smile. But notwithstanding that fact, monitoring officer.
Yes, there's no need for members to declare an interest. Everyone of the members has an interest in this item. We couldn't get it through without members being able to vote on it, so you don't have to declare an interest, Chairman.
So with that, Mr. Chairman, my recommendations are to the Council that the recommendations are accepted, but with the withdrawal of recommendation B1 and B2, I so move.
Councillor Philip White, do you wish to second?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll second the motion as put forward by Councillor Alan White, and in the hope that I won't need to stand up to speak in detail on this item, may I just thank you for your service from the Chair over the last 2 years. We'll see whether this is the last time I have to speak.
My pleasure, thank you.
Thank you.
Does nobody else wish to speak? Do you wish to comment? It's been moved and seconded that recommendation contained in reports be approved as amended by the leader. Is that agreed? Agreed. Anything contrary? Thank you. Item 6C, Pay Policy Statement 2003-2024. Councillor Alan White, will you move the consideration report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the Pay Policy Statement 23-24 as set out in Section 38 of the Localism Act 2011.
Councillor Philip White.
About this one when I said that before, didn't I? I'll second this. Thank you.
Leader, do you wish to? It's been moved and seconded that the recommendation contained in the report be approved. Is that agreed? Aye. Any for contrary? Thank you. Report of the Chairman of the Staffordshire Police, Fire and Crime Panel. Councillor Richard Cox, will you move the consideration report, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, I'm pleased to move the reports of the meetings on the 6th and 13th of February and the 21st of February. So I'm happy to take any questions if necessary. But I would like to say that I sat in replacement of Councillor Bernard Peters, who was unfortunately, due to his operation on his knee, wasn't able to take it, but hopefully we got through those meetings satisfactorily. Thank you.
Thank you. It is amiss of me not to welcome you back, Councillor Peters. We have missed you. We know the hard work that you've done on this committee over the last few years.
Cox for stepping up and doing a good job. Thank you.
Councillor Mrs Charlotte-Atkins, please.
Yes, I understand from both my district council and from this report that the police cannot download CCTV camera footage from district councils. And obviously this is a real concern to residents in town centres, particularly in Leek, where there's a lot of antisocial behaviour. You know, the very instrument which is there to try to record and to detect culprits of antisocial behaviour are left unreported, undetected because of this technical problem. Now, I don't know how long this problem has been an issue, but it seems to me that it's absolutely vital that priority is given to sorting this out. I can't believe how ridiculous this is. I mean, it almost seems like with the Keystone Cops or something, because, you know, that we can't use the images, which are very good images, to sort out antisocial behaviour in our town centres, or indeed anywhere where there is a CCTV camera. So if you could tell us how long this has been a problem and when it's going to be resolved, most importantly.
Thank you. As nobody else wishes to speak, I will now call Councillor Cox to respond and close the debate.
Thank you, Chairman. I will take that back to the Commissioner on your behalf, Councillor Atkins. Operational matters are for the Chief Constable, and obviously with regards to CCTV, that is also very much a borough and district responsibility. But I will take those comments back for you. Thank you.
Thank you. I move that the report be received. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Questions on the Standing Order 8. Members, the 7 questions and answers have been circulated to members and published on our website. In accordance with the usual procedures, the question and answers will be taken as read. I will allow each question 5 minutes in which to ask a supplementary question and to receive an answer. No debate is allowed on questions. And when I say questions, I want questions. I don't want statements where you just ramble on. If you don't ask a question within 15 seconds or the hint of a question, I will ask you to sit down. Councillor Pritchard, please, to Councillor David Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your service. Thank you very much for the cabinet member for including that project in the works. Can I just ask him to accept the thanks of myself, my residents of my division, and the wider town for including that in the programme.
Thank you. Councillor Gillian Hood to Councillor Alan White, please.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you for a splendid 4 years. Thank you for your reply, Mr. White. But I question why further down the line we go, and excuse the pun, the more I feel this council is waving a white flag to HS2. You say the Act provides limited grounds for the council to refuse a lorry route, and those being road safety, amenity, free flow of traffic. All of these grounds apply to Pyre Hill Lane. There are in fact two viable alternative routes available. In 2017, this county council said the use of Pyre Hill Lane was unacceptable. I ask that this council, and you, the leader, make sure Pyre Hill Lane is not used as a route for the HGVs. And when clarification is given on Schedule 17's lorry routes, if it goes to planning, that I will have your support and the council's support to calling it in. Thank you, Mr. White. Thank you.
The leader, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's difficult to hear phrases like the Staffordshire County Council raising the white flag on HS2. I was in this chamber when Councillor Atkins was the leader and Councillor Winnington was the portfolio holder when I seem to recall we moved a motion against HS2. I think we allocated £200,000 to the petitioning process. We subsequently petitioned HS2. we've worked with and lobbied continuously government and HS2 and Balfour, Beachy, whatever they're called, who are trying to do the works in the south of the county to make sure they deliver appropriately and bearing in mind our community interests. So to say that we are raising the white flag with HS2 is to completely misjudge the work that we have done over the past 13 years. We continue to work hard to make sure that HS2 and indeed their contractors do the minimum damage to the county whilst they're working here. But boy, oh boy, if you do live in an area that's being affected by HS2 and the road that you're referring to this morning, Councillor Hood, you see that damage and you see the impact that it has on our local communities. In Councillor Smith's division, in Hints, the work programme that goes on there, it says lorries aren't allowed to arrive before a certain time in the morning. Guess what? Lorries arriving at 5:30 in the morning. In Councillor Egan's division, having a cement factory put in there to actually create cement for HS2, ripping up fields in Councillor Egan's division and in my division as well. So we understand the impact of HS2. The idea that this authority would raise the white flag to HS2 is really not something we would even countenance. We will be supporting you in your efforts to make sure that HS2 doesn't do unnecessary damage or have unnecessary community impact in your division. I know that the borough councils and the district councils along the line of route are also working very hard to make sure it minimises the impact. So rest assured, Councillor Hood, this authority doesn't raise the white flag to HS2. This authority makes sure that HS2 does the minimum damage to this county and that, as Councillor Winnington used to say, we secure the maximum economic benefit for Staffordshire whilst they're working here. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Nigel Yates, please, to Councillor Mark DeVille.
Yes, thank you. Must admit, I am disappointed that this question asked for a value and there's no value therefore, because I wanted to ascertain whether
there is no debate on the past question. You've had your answer. Please ask a new question.
The new question is, can I please have the question which I initially asked for answered so that we can ascertain the value and then come back with a supplementary question which can validate the value or otherwise? Thank you.
Councillor DeVille.
Oh, light's gone off. Thank you. It does fall under my portfolio, so obviously I will answer the question. Thank you for the supplementary. I think, as it says in the response, Mr. Chairman, obviously cost recovery basis for this. So, but I will share one figure with Councillor Yates, and that's something that's really hot off the presses today from colleagues in Staffordshire Moorlands, is that they have received a grant of £32,000 from the fly tipping intervention grant, which will help to tackle fly tipping across the moorlands, and also use of mobile cameras. So that's really good news.
Thank you. Mrs Gillian Padesi to Councillor Philip White, please.
Thank you, Chair. My supplementary is, why have the issues of delays in receiving healthcare and support with childcare and indeed other caring responsibilities, an older relative, whoever, why have they been pushed to the last paragraph of the answer to my question? Because as I see it, no matter how much we advertise, how much we make ourselves look an attractive employer, surely it's effort and money wasted if it does not quickly and seriously address the fundamental reasons as to why people are not applying for jobs in the first place. And the initiatives around childcare, for example, announced by the Chancellor yesterday, as we all know, are not overnight fixes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Philip White, please.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for that, Councillor Pardesi. I thought it was a question that spoke to the zeitgeist in terms of one of the key issues that we face. Thank you for asking. In terms of your views on the response that's given, I think probably mind reading would be required to know which bit of it you would have wanted first. But I'm really happy to discuss those areas that you've highlighted with you further, and indeed with with colleagues to see what further information we can provide you with. I don't think we'll agree on the substance of your comments in terms of the quality of what's provided. But as to the substance of what we try and do for our residents to give them what they need, we can absolutely agree to work on that together. So if you would like to do that, I would be delighted to.
Thank you. Councillor Mrs Charlotte Atkins and Councillor Mark Sutton, please.
Yeah, thank you for the response, and also the response to the nurseries that wrote originally to you. And it was good to see in the budget that at long last the government has recognised the importance of childcare, not only for working parents but also for the educational and healthy development of young children. We all recognise that. Anyone who's used the nursery understands that. But my concern is, with that announcement, did we get any sort of idea whether the national formula for funded places was going to go up? Because you rightly identified how poorly funded Staffordshire is for 3- and 4-year-olds for these free places. But if the funding gap between what it actually costs nurseries to deliver quality childcare and the actual formula used by government, which seems to disadvantage Staffordshire, means that in 2025, when these new places are finally rolled out, we could be in a position in Staffordshire where we don't have the providers to actually deliver those funded places. So what's happening with the national formula, and can we ensure that that gets closer to the real costs of delivering a quality childcare provision?
Thank you. Councillor Mark Sutton, please.
So, thank you very much for the supplementary question. And you make some good points regarding nursery provider provision within the county. Early years and ensuring that children reach a good level of development is absolutely essential. And this authority has worked really hard, particularly around Think 2 and other schemes that provide funded early years care to ensure that those children get a good level of development. And it is very timely, isn't it, that the government, I think, have recognised the need to ensure that there is good nursery provision around the country. And I will briefly just explain some of the announcements yesterday and then answer particularly the question that I've been asked. So the government intends to provide 4.1 billion by 2027-28 to deliver 30 hours of free childcare for eligible working parents for children aged between 9 months and 3 years. And the eligibility will match the current 3- to 4-year-olds offer. This will close the gap between parental leave finishing and the current free childcare offer. The rollout of this enhanced offer is intended to be with different parts of the offer coming on at different points. It would be comprehensive by September 2025. And the next point, I hope, will answer the question going forward about the actual rates that we get in Staffordshire. To support delivery, the government will also provide an extra 204 million in 2023-24 for an uplift in the funding rate for existing childcare offers. The government is also going to change the staff ratio to match that in Scotland from 1.4 from one carer to 4 children to 1 carer to 5 children, and that matches what's currently in Scotland and generally around Europe. There will also be an increase to support an increase for those parents on universal credit, and a national Pathfinder scheme for wraparound childcare in England to stimulate supply in that wraparound market and support the ambition that all children should be able to access 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. childcare. But of course, the devil will be in the detail, and officers are already working on that. Already will be in conversations with the DFE to see how this works. So I can't specifically
answer the question that has been asked. But I hope once officers start to work with the DFE and understand the detail, we will be in a better position to understand exactly what the offer will be for parents and their children across Staffordshire. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councillor Hussain to Councillor Mrs Jessel, please.
Thank you, Chairman. And can I also echo with Councillor Huckfield for your wonderful service. You have done a great job. Thank you for your service, Chairman, for past years. Can I also thank Councillor Jessel for the response for the questions. Would she agree that better pay elsewhere and better hours, working hours for our carers, and sometimes, but most of the time, feeling burnt out and stressed because of their works. This is the main impediment for the recruitment and the retentions in this sector. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Mrs Jessel, please.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Certainly, it's one of the factors, but actually, when we compiled this strategy and actually worked with partners, providers, because a lot of social care is provided by organisations outside this authority, and people working in the industry, pay was certainly a factor, but actually many of them derived huge personal satisfaction and actually loved doing the job. I think working within social care, working within healthcare, we all need money to pay our bills, but actually you need to have that desire to work with people and help people. And that was a really strong message that came through. This strategy recognises that as an employer, we've got to be very proactive, and through the work that the leader has done, we've made our recruitment process far quicker, far slicker. People need information, people potentially interested in coming to work for us as a county council, but also working within the sector. You know, we are an employer. There are many other employers out there providing services for our residents, and what this strategy sets out to do is to help them be more efficient in recruiting. There is also the factor of providing a proper career path and supporting people through that. So I would recommend everybody to read this strategy document. It was approved by Cabinet on the 18th of January. It sets out our journey. We need a lot of work to deliver on this. And as I've been saying in this council chamber on a number of occasions, recognising the fantastic work that people who work in the caring industry do. You will never encourage people, whether they're school leavers or people in midlife, often people who have got experience of life in their 50s and 60s, work in this industry. But if we moan about it and say how awful it is, you're not going to encourage people. But I'm always heartened when I go round, particularly some of our homes for people with severe learning difficulties, how people are so dedicated and actually love working in that industry. So it is an element, but by no means the only element. And as a local authority, we've been working with Skills for Care, and they've given us some very positive feedback about what we're doing here to support our own recruitment and retention in the industry. And hopefully shortly we'll get national recognition for the work that we're doing. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Question 7. Before I call Councillor Afstar, Councillor Wills is not here today because of a family issue. If you'd like to ask your questions for Leader, if it's not too complex and he can answer, if not, he will refer it to, if not, if not and you had a supplementary, I would refer it back.
Chair, there's no supplementary.
Mr. Chairman, I was rather hoping that Councillor Afsar would ask me a question about quantum mechanics or something, just to demonstrate how I can deal with questions of complexity. But I have to say it was a very, very important question that Councillor Afsar asks, and vital to all our residents in Staffordshire. So thank you for asking that question. I am so disappointed you didn't ask me a stinker. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You are the leader because you can answer complex questions, so well done. Item 9, petitions. Does any member have a petition they wish to present? Thank you. OK, there are no items where the public need to be excluded. So can I thank everyone for attendance, have a lovely lunch, and we'll see you in May.